Winslaydale. I don't know. Note. I can't even say it right, but thank you for your donation of $9.99. And John Villafranco, as always, thank you for being such a supporter of the show. It's going to be an interesting show because this is going to be the third part in what I think is a trilogy here, because it started. I guess this is the fourth part, really, because it started a few weeks ago when I talked about the LBL, and then the next week I ended up with a kidney stone, and so I wasn't able to do anything. And then Jody Cooks comes on the show the week after that, and he talked about this with the LBL and what's gone on over there. And then the next week was the guys from the Cryptid Institute, Johnny Henderson and his son Elijah, and they reached out to me and they said, hey, they'd be willing to come on the show and talk and tell their side of it. And today we're going to have the person that originally came forward as a witness to the LBL killings, and his name was Roger. He was going under an alias of Tyler because he was trying to stay a little bit more anonymous, but he came on the Cryptid Studies Institute show and told what is his truth, what he believes happened. And so anyways, he's talking and telling them his story. And now he's going to come on and talk to us about it. And so we may have some other people calling in and talking too later on. But John, thank you for a second $10 donation. I appreciate that. So we're going to let the chat room fill up a little bit, but we still have the art contest going on. Let's get the prelims out here. We have the art contest, the Willie Williams art contest. I'm getting some people sending me their stuff, some pretty cool pictures of Mothman. Somebody's going to win the first prize, $100 in swag and an autograph book, and then second place is $50 swag and autograph book, and then third place is $25 and you get some swag and an autograph book. So the art contest is going, and it's the Mothman. This past month has been Mothman. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Positive vibes and aloha to you and fam. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Like and subscribe. So pretty catchy name too, by the way. So what's happening is that we are going to pick a winner. Probably it'll be next week. I'll announce it, and it'll end on the 30th of April 30th. And then what else we got? We got the Patreons. We're gonna have to announce our supporters. We got Robert Moore, Barry, Titan, Chronological, or John Smith, whatever name you want to go by. Dead Man Walking, Russell Nash, Guy, Don Wells, Melissa Panay, which, by the way, I'm also wearing one of their necklaces. I love this necklace. Derek Tribble, Rudy Gutierrez, Andrea Crass, Patrick Nickerson, Shannon, Chris Smith, Ralph Ayu, Matthew Durgo, Alexander Murphy, Loretta Sumka, Philip Morn, Curtis Turner, Lou the Good Dude, Chris Clough, Terry Fuselier, Martin Hertel, Barbara Blindy, Earl Bowers, Wendy Page Williams, Joyce Brunette, and last but not least, Dick Richards. Dick's always in the chats, so hopefully he'll show up. I don't know if he's in there right now. I don't know if he's here yet, but so I hope everybody enjoyed the last episode, the Friday episode. It was a pretty emotional one for me to record. It took a while for me to get up the nerve to get it and do it and just get it done. It's part two I think will be a lot. It'll have a lot more to it than the first one. I kind of had to set the stage on the first one, and how Lord of the Rings was really slow the first one, and the second one was good, and the third one was awesome. Well, I had to do that as a two-parter, and I think you'll have a lot more meat on the bone on the second part if you tune in to it. But it was an emotional deal for me to sit there and go through all that because you really relive it when you go through your paranormal experiences. And that one was was pretty traumatic for me as a young man, having not really experienced the hauntings on that level of what I went through in that place. So if you go back and listen to that, The Haunted Tower, after 120 episodes and 15 live streams, I decided to go ahead and it was time to talk about it, and not for a lack of material. I can tell you that. It wasn't like I was waiting around because I had nothing to talk about. I mean, there is a ton of subjects to talk about and a lot of material. You know, I got tons and tons of stories, and I am extremely backed up, and I sincerely apologize to anyone and everyone who is a listener of this program, and you've sent me your stories and I have not been able to get back to you, or I have not told your story yet. You know, I apologize. I'm one person. I have a team, but I'm the person that tells the stories because I know how to do it. Everyone else sucks at it. So I basically have to do it alone because people are incompetent. I'm messing with you. Just kidding, folks. They are not incompetent, okay? They just suck at it. But anyway, without Anthony here, I wouldn't be able to get the show to do the things I got to do. I wouldn't be able to make it work today. We had to be able to coordinate to have multiple guests to come on and talk today because everybody wants to tell their side of it. And the first part of the show, we are going to talk to a witness, like I said, from the LBL, and we're going to give him his say. Because he's like, hey, you know, what about me? I mean, you've had, you know, Jody on, and you've had Johnny and Elisha, and now I want to talk and tell my truths, and that's going to happen today. He's going to come on and talk about it. If you want to reach me and you want to send us an email, it is joshturner@prtpodcast.com. joshturner@prtpodcast.com. Our website is prtpodcast.com. We're on several different platforms too. Not just YouTube. But we also, we have a store, and one of the store, we have two stores, right? One of them is connected to the YouTube show, and the other one is just, it's in the, on the website. So that being said, folks, we have PRT merchandise like this snazzy shirt. You can see it right here. Let me move this equipment out. You can see it. Paranormal Round Table. Now, I'm a beautiful model for this, okay? Don't think that you're going to get this shirt and that you're going to look like this. Like you're going to have this, you know, this Hulk-like physique. Because not everybody can do that, okay? You can only be you, okay? I'm blessed to look this good. So don't, you know, just so you know, when you buy this shirt, don't be like, oh man, I don't have massive pecs and shoulders and beautiful triceps like that guy that talks a lot, you know, because not everybody can pull this off, folks. Okay. I'm just being real. I'm being real. Don't be upset. Just kidding. Everybody's special in their own way. That's what my mom told me anyway when I was little. I had to wear my helmet to school. It was, you know, embarrassing. And then I found out that I actually wasn't at school. I was just at home and banging my head into the wall with my dad's old football helmet. That was embarrassing too. Anyways, folks, here is our address if you want to send us something. And by the way, Susan, you go by Susan Woodcarver. I see your comment on there right now. Of course, I'm going to look exactly like Josh. Susan actually sent me beautiful wood carvings. You sent me an angel that you carved out of wood for my mother. Now she's in the hospital and she's not doing real good, but sent her a picture so she knows. And it was very, very thoughtful. It was a wonderful thing. You sent it, and you sent it to our address. And that address is 6001 West Palmer Lane, Suite 370, PMB 131, Austin, Texas 78727. One more time, 6001 West Palmer Lane, Suite 370, PMB 131, Austin, Texas 78727. That is our P.O. Box. And also, this past week's winner, I need to go ahead and announce that, Max Rangel of Oklahoma City. Congratulations, Max. We mailed your package off today. And so you got an autographed book coming your way from Linda Godfrey. And you also received some PRT stuff. I didn't go real heavy on the Texas merch because you're from Oklahoma, and I didn't know how you'd appreciate that or not. So, but I sent you a couple little magnets in there. So, Susan Lyons, it says, thanks for all you do. Thank you, Susan, for being a listener. Without you, we don't have a show. We're just over here talking. So I think we're ready. What else do we have to talk about? Do we have to announce anything? Don't forget anything.
I think so.
I think we're good. I think we're ready. I think everything's in place. I just wanted everybody to understand what's going to happen today. Okay. Now I'm going to bring this person on, and they're going to tell their story. And I want everybody to be as polite as possible. If you have a judgment that you want to make known, let's not be rude. Okay. You keep your ugly comments to yourself, or you will be booted from the chat room, folks. Okay. We want people that'll talk politely, and you're allowed to give your opinion, whatever that opinion may be, but no foul language in the chat room. No bad talk of any kind to the people who are going to be involved in this discussion. And I feel honored that these people were willing to come on and talk with me and trusted me and believed in my integrity enough to come and tell their stories to us. So I want to make sure that people understand that that's a big part of it too. And I appreciate everyone that tunes in on a weekly basis to hear me prattle on about the paranormal and about all this weird stuff that we deal with. And if anybody hasn't heard the Cryptid Studies Institute, I've been watching some of their videos, and I would like to plug them at this time, and I'm getting nothing for that. I'm just doing it because they're pretty good. I like their videos. I was watching a few of them over the past weekend, and Elijah's a very good speaker. I love his voice. Here at the Cryptid Studies Institute, that's how he talks, and it's a very down-home Appalachian country, the way that those guys are, and they seem like very genuine and honest and nice guys, and I love their videos. So go check them out. They show them some love, give them some likes, and we need more people in the field like that. That's what we need. We also have something in common. One of their favorite books is also one of my favorite books, In Humanoids by Barton Nunley. Barton's a great guy, a very, very good guy, honest, down to earth, good author. We need more authors like him. Linda Godfrey, people like that. We need good people that tell their truths and write really good books. And Barton, he's a good guy. I can't say enough about him, and I've talked to him, and I love his book In Humanoids. It should be a required reading if you're into cryptids and the paranormal. You should check it out. That's all I can say. And so everybody also continue to keep my mother in your prayers, and my friend Mike Tooley, who's one of my brothers from the old days. He's been going through some stuff. He's been struggling. He's got a condition where his body doesn't hold sodium correctly, and he's been in and out of the hospital. He hasn't been able to work, and we've been trying to help him as much as possible. So just pray. Please continue to pray. Also, I was going to say something about this ring. I told my jeweler they handcrafted this ring for me, and it was a copy of a ring that I had, and it didn't fit correctly anymore, and it was steel. So I had it redone, and it was done in gold, and it's from Q&T Jewelers in Round Rock. People ask me about my custom jewelry. That's where I get my metal from. It's called Q&T Jewelers in Round Rock at La Frontera Shopping Center. It's an awesome place. Really nice people. They're Vietnamese. They're Christians. They're very nice people, and they do a great job. So I told them I'd give them a shout out because they gave me a good deal on it, and they did a very awesome job. I mean, anything I've given them, they take good care of it. So That being said, they made my wife's wedding ring, her engagement ring, and my wedding ring, which I'm wearing right here. This one right here. It's yeah, from them. So that being said, we're going to make a phone call here. Now that everybody's, all the niceties are, see if I can use this phone. And let's get this started.
Hello.
Hello, Roger?
Yes.
Okay. It's Josh Turner.
Hello, Mr. Turner. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm sitting here in my mobile office with my black cup of coffee and ready to talk.
Okay. So your audio sounds a little off. Let's make sure that we're on the same level here. Let me turn my headphones. Make sure I can hear you. Maybe it was me. I don't know. All right.
If you think the background noise is on my app, let me know. I'm actually in my tractor because after I'm done talking to you, I'm gonna have to head back out. So if you want me to shut it off, I can do that.
I don't think I can hear that. Can everybody at home that's listening? Can y'all hear Roger? Okay. I think everybody can hear us. Yeah, it's a thumbs up. Good. All right. So I am hearing a lot of the music on my end, Anthony. It's really loud. We have like some ambient music that I'm hearing that very loudly on my headphones.
Is it quieter?
Yeah, it needs to be quieter.
Just mute it.
Yeah, just mute it for now. It's very, very nice and ambient, but unnecessary right now. We got serious stuff to talk about. So, Roger, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Roger, and I live here in the great state of Iowa, and I'm the survivor of what really happened at Land Between the Lakes in 1982.
Okay. And so it was 82 when this happened, 1982.
That's correct, April 7th.
So the anniversary of that just passed.
That's correct.
Okay. Let me start off with that. Now, do you feel something when that date comes up?
I feel it every day of my life. I've just tried to put it under wraps, so to speak. But it's gotten a little easier with time. But sure, it's almost like a birthday, so to speak. Not as joyous, obviously, but sure, I sure do.
Because now, according to you, when you did the show on the Cryptid Studies Institute, you were very close to the people who passed.
I was. I didn't know them for very long, but I got to know them very well for the short time I did know them, and I think they were very good people with just demons chasing them, I think.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. Now, when we talked, you said that you couldn't, you weren't going to be able to tell like the story that you told already before because it was taken down. Okay. So you're not going to tell the whole story, but you're going to answer my questions, right? That's what
I will answer anything you ask me. Okay.
So let me ask you this. So let's start with the family. How did you meet these people? How did you come to know the family that this?
I had relatives, and I still do, in LaGrange, Indiana. And this was back when I was 15, and I just kind of had met them through happenstance. They were actually living in a small RV at that time, on kind of a wildlife refuge area that kind of butted up to my relative's property, and that's how I originally had met them. I just kind of happened along them, actually.
How old were you when you met these people?
15.
15. And so, and now you've said that these people were members of the Amish community?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And now here's the question that everybody's been asking, and you've had to answer, I'm sure, repeatedly. What were these particular Amish people doing traveling from their homeland to the LBL?
I can't honestly answer that. I think from what I got, because I got to know Stephen the best, and that was the son. And I think they left the Amish community, or maybe was pushed out from something that happened, or maybe something that they witnessed within the Amish community. And that's all I know. I wish I knew more, but I think it was something that was pretty severe.
Because there's been a lot of speculation on that, and I have dealt with members of the Amish community who have left the Amish community, and it's not unheard of, folks. I mean, it's just like, and I'm not comparing them to a cult or anything like that, but they're a very closed society, and so it's not super common to meet people out in what they call the English world that are Amish. Typically, if you see those that dress and look like them and they're out and about, they're Mennonites. They are a lot less strict, and they go out into the English world. That's what they call our world, because they all speak Dutch. A lot more. It's a lot more prevalent to see them. You rarely will see the Amish too much out interacting. You do see them, but they don't use electricity and things like that. But do you feel like these people that were members of the Amish community, they had been either shunned or excommunicated? I don't know how you would say it, but like, do you feel like that they were pushed out, like something had happened, or did they leave willingly? Because that, to me, that's important too.
I think they left willingly. The shun part, I know a little about, but not much, so I can't really comment on that. I guess I kind of got an idea, but I'd just rather not say on the air just yet.
Okay.
What I think happened, but I think they left, and maybe they were pushed out as well. But I think they left on their own.
Because there've been speculation, and I brought this up on the first show that I did. It's been over about a month, I guess now, but I talked about this because when they were attacked and supposedly killed, it wasn't a normal like killing. These were creatures of some kind that did this, right? That's what you're claiming.
Yes. I put up a drawing. I don't know if anybody had seen it out there, and a lot of people thought that I drew that. I did not. I couldn't draw that well if I tried. But I've been coming to know that a lot of people don't call these things dogmen, and some people said it's more of a kind of a baboon-looking type thing. And the more I looked at the picture that I had submitted to Johnny and Elijah, maybe so. Maybe it wasn't a traditional dog man, but that's what it looked like. So without being educated fully on these things, I still call them a dog man, or thought they were.
Okay. Somebody said your audio is going in and out. I'm going to ask my sound guy if he can hear you. Can you hear him? Because I can hear you, but it sounds like it's going in and out, or if it's being muffled. But I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
So anyways, the sound guy hasn't answered me. So here's the question. These creatures, the picture that I posted up on in my group, okay, folks, you can tell me. So it's all good? Okay, the Paranormal Round Table group page, if you go to Facebook, I posted the picture that you had said was what resembled these creatures. Now, I have a guy that I do, the show's kind of on hold right now. His mother's sick and he's had some issues. But we were doing a show and we were getting ready to do a show about these things called devil monkeys. Now, I did do a show called The Devil Monkeys and it was on PRT, but Ryan is the guy Ryan Paul Tremblay, and he was my co-host on A Whisper to a Scream. And that show is strictly cryptid based, whereas mine is cryptid / paranormal, whatever / whatever. But we talked about these creatures, okay? And that's one thing I wanted to ask you. That's another, issue that I wanted to bring up. That if that picture that was put up on our Facebook page, okay, if that is the picture that you believe what these things look like, that is very close. That closely resembles a devil monkey of what people call these. And there's no other term for them. I know that they call them the rebobs up in the Napa Valley in California. But one of the things I wanted to ask you was, you said that there were 2 creatures, but you only saw one?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, and so if that picture is what you claim that these things look like, those more closely resemble a devil monkey, not so much a dogman, because what I saw, that doesn't look anything like what I saw. What I saw looked way more wolfish. It had a big head, a big old head, and it was black, and it looked like a wolf. Whereas what you saw, that looks almost like a mixture of a primate, cat, dog type thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, the snout or the muzzle was a lot shorter, stubbier than like a traditional, I guess, wolf. The ears were more down lower towards not up on top, pointed, I guess is what I'm trying to say, on top of its head. So it like I said, I'm learning as I go here, because I'll be honest, I don't study these things. I just, like I said it earlier, I try to keep my mind clean and clear, and I just don't want it to be muddled with all these different things that are out there. So that picture is the closest thing to what I've seen that resembles what attacked us that night.
And so that picture, that's the closest that that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. I have gone through and looked at dogmen and werewolves and things like that, and that is the closest that I have found. Like Googling and stuff like that. That's what I've seen.
But not exactly. That's just the closest, is what you're saying.
Well, there again, I want to reiterate, things happen pretty darn fast. So for what I did see, yes, that's what I would say it was.
Okay. Because, and now let me jump to another point here. The reason that's important is because that area, now on the show we did about devil monkeys, we had someone from that, not exactly that area, but from, I believe, Kentucky. I think it was Kentucky, and it was a cave, and these creatures came out of it. And this is a story I got, and that they had actually, and I feel kind of bad now because there was somebody who gave me a story about the LBL, and, I kind of tossed it out because I thought that sounds kind of ridiculous. And there was a large group of those creatures that very much resemble that actually chased them out of there. And I thought, this person's, I don't know. I thought maybe they were trying to capitalize on the whole LBL thing. And I thought maybe they were sensationalizing it, that a pack of these weird looking werewolf type skinny werewolf creatures chased them in a truck. And I thought that was ridiculous. But anyways, I feel kind of bad now about that, because now when I hear your story, and then I go back and I know that the story that was given to us on the Devil Monkeys, it was, it's very similar. somebody just said in the chat room here, there's 10 varieties of Dogman. I have no idea about that. I know that there are people that believe that there are all these different types and different kinds, and I can't tell you which ones are which. I just know what I saw. Ryan Tremblay, my part-time host and researcher, he had one that looked like a hyena encounter. The ones that were being seen around my hometown were typically black. Might have been the same creature, but it looked nothing like that. It was those little creatures or whatever, they look completely different than what I saw. And so I was wondering, when you go back and you look at that picture, do you feel like anything from that picture? Do you feel like you're looking at the creature itself?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. And another thing too that I was told by the guys from the Cryptid Studies Institute, that was not actually discussed on their show. They told me this, and I told them that I wanted to ask you this if you came on my program, that there was something about them being disoriented, like they looked like they were out of place or disoriented.
Well, it wasn't there. Like I said, I just seen the one, so I can't comment on the second one.
Yeah, but the one you saw looked like it was disoriented.
Yep, and that could have, it could have contributed to being hit twice, but it did something odd when it was running towards the ravine, and it started hitting the top of its head with both hands, like we do, you're saying duh to yourself or something. You start slapping yourself on your head with both hands, and then it kind of stopped, just did a weird kind of jig, and then ran down into the ravine. And that was all just a split second. So I thought it was odd. Thought maybe it was disorientation. It could have just been from the sheer pain, agony.
Okay, that's weird. Okay, so when one of these creatures was shot, okay, it was shot by one of the Amish family members.
It was shot first by Levi with a 20 gauge pump shotgun.
Now tell the people who are listening who aren't initiated who Levi was.
Levi was the father and the husband.
Okay, and Corley, thank you for your donation, and Chris Smith, thank you for your donation. It wasn't missed on me. I know that you guys donated. Thank you very much. So one of these creatures was shot, and you said that it began to slap its head.
After it attacked Levi, it ran back, and that's when I, of course, fired. But when it got back up, it started to slap its head with both hands, and it ran just briefly, and it just kind of did it like a little jig. It sounds strange and hard to explain. It just kind of did a little foot dance type thing, and then just kept running towards the ravine.
Hey, Roger, I'm going to ask you a favor. Try to stay as close to the phone because you're kind of going in and out. But then you're giving us very pertinent information here, and I want to make sure that the audience is focused in and listening to you. We have over 300 people in the chat room right now, and a lot of people are going to be listening to this show. So try to talk as clearly into the phone as you can, as best you can, buddy.
Is that better?
Well, it's a little muffled. It sounds like you threw it off the tractor and you're just yelling. You're just yelling from above. I'm just kidding, but seriously, just try to. So okay, so let me ask you this: the creature that you saw, you shot it, you yourself.
Yes, I did with a 410 shotgun.
Okay, now that's another question. 410 shotgun. I had a 410 shotgun growing up. I used to play with it all the time. I had a 22 Snake Charmer. I used to play with guns when I was a kid because I grew up in the country for the first 15 years of my life. So I first shot a gun when I was like 6. No kidding. My grandpa was like, "Hey, let's go shoot guns." My grandpa was an outlaw. He didn't care. But I had guns. So I had 410. But there's a difference between what kind of, you can put rock salt and shoot anything and it scares it. But you can put, squirrel shot. You can use dove shot. What was it that you were using? What kind of buck were you using? Or what was it?
I don't know the No, I don't think it was a buckshot, like double aught or triple aught or anything like that, because they leave pretty distinct holes.
Uh-huh.
But I know the round that I was using was a Super X. It was a red, and I believe that's a Winchester.
Okay.
And I'm positive that was just a regular bird shot, probably 4 shot, something like
It was
that.
like a dove shot. Yeah, because I mean, like somebody just said on here, 410 slug is wicked. Well, this isn't a slug. Typically, I mean, it just. So you had a 410 shotgun. Were there any other firearms involved at all?
Other than Levi's 20 gauge pump, I don't know. I mean, no. As far as what happened, no. There might have been others in the motorhome, but I didn't see them.
Okay. And did Levi get any shots off?
Yeah, he's the one that shot that the first time, and then unfortunately hit his son in the same shot.
And how old was the son?
13.
And so was he killed by the shot?
I don't believe so.
No.
I'm gonna say no.
Wow. Okay, and so how many members of the family were there altogether?
Well, there was Levi and Diane, and then there was Connie and Steven. They had the nicknames, and I still think, like I told John and Elijah, that the nicknames was probably what their real names were, but he called her Fanny Girl, and Diane he called Lizzie, so it could be Elizabeth, and I don't know, Fanny Mae or Francis, I guess, but that's how I originally knew them was Diane and Connie. I know those aren't typical Amish names, but
yeah, and that's not. But one thing I'm going to tell people at home, a lot of my brothers from the old days can tell you this too, and they can attest to this. We knew an Amish, a group of Amish kids that came to work for it. My kids are a little bit younger than me, but one of them was Jamie. Now his name was Jeremiah, but he went by Jamie, and he had left from Rumspringa. Rumspringa is when they go and they decide whether they want to be in our world, which is the English world, the world of iniquity to them, or they want to stay within the church and try to make it to heaven. That's literally what they believe. So, like, they stay in their community. If they return from Rumspringa, then they stay committed to the church, and that's it, and it's a done deal. They commit themselves to the Amish community 100%, or they say, you know what, we want to go live our life in the English world, and they leave. Well, these kids did that. They made the choice to leave. And so Jamie in particular was one that we became kind of close to, friends with, and he told us a lot of stories. One of the things he made clear to us was that the Amish were not always good. They, for the most part, were like what he said, maybe 80-90% good, maybe 10% kind of toeing the line. They almost kind of had their own little mafia, the way they did things. And then they had about 10% that were absolutely just bad. And of those bad, he claims that they practiced witchcraft, and it was a regular thing. Like, they would put hexes on people, and if you made them mad, they would do anything from souring your milk to burning your house down. Like, it could get bad. And so I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm just saying that this is what I was told, and what I was a young guy, and I was shocked to hear that about the Amish, because I had never knew that they were capable of that. I thought it was just they were just really good, honest people, and most of them are. I'm sure, I'm positive, but there is an element of everything. Every group has its own malcontents. Now, I want to ask you a question, Roger. Did you feel like that this Amish family was fleeing from something? Along those lines, maybe possibly in that vein?
Well, they didn't act like they were scared or running from something, but they definitely were leaving for a purpose. And I've just with recent research, I found out that the Amish, they don't report anything. They don't report child abuse. They don't report spousal abuse. Even something as grotesque as child molestation, which does happen, they do not report that. And I will tell you indirectly that the reason they left was because of one of those things I have just said. and I just don't want to say it on the air.
Wow. Okay. So and so leaving now, here's another thing too. When they left, you said that they had a large sum of money with them.
They had a very large sum of money.
How did
it was over $20,000. I know for a fact it was in this little small safe that they had, which was kept in the bathroom of the motorhome.
How did you know about that?
The money?
Mm-hmm.
I seen it in there.
So they basically, they weren't hiding anything from you. You were that close to them.
Yeah, I'm sure they weren't telling me everything, obviously, in a little bit of time that I did know them. But no, they didn't hold no qualms about, other than why they left, of course. But they were very, very honest.
They were very honest people. And you said that they had over $20,000. Now, okay, we're talking about 1982.
Exactly.
That was a lot of money.
Exactly.
And so they were going to use this money to do what? What was their goal? What was the deal?
That's the reason they had bought that big a motorhome, brand new, and that was to live in it.
And so when they used that money to buy the motorhome that they were traveling in?
Yes, and that's what I got. That they'd sold the property or the farm, and I'm guessing they sold it within the community. You might even know more about that than myself.
That's interesting. So I have a question about that. So when at the time of the attack, I know this is important because at the time of the attack that you claim that the alleged attack happened, I have to say alleged, but and it's not saying that I don't believe one way or the other, but the time of the alleged attack. That large sum of money would have been dwindled down some, right? I mean, there wouldn't have been 20 grand because they had bought the motor home, right?
No, I'm saying there was $20,000 cash in that at that particular time.
Oh, okay. And so that leads me into my other question. One of the questions that I had was, you said that at one point you thought that these were people dressed in suits that could have been attacking them to try to steal the money.
Well, I don't know if it was to steal the money, because there was no way that anybody else would have known it was in there, or I don't think. I just can't fathom that. But I had no other choice. I could not believe that these things were real. And my whole time that this was happening, I thought it was somebody dressed in a hairy suits. And I know it sounds odd, but I had no inkling that these things even existed, or I don't even know if they still do, to be quite honest. But
yeah,
that's what I thought. I just thought they were people trying to. They just happened upon us, and we were just an opportunity for them, and that's what happened.
So let me ask you another question, and this is something that was posed to me, and having done some research over the last month or two, or actually month and a half, I guess, with this whole thing. Somebody said that there was a possible that the reason for the attack could have been that when you guys were entering into the LBL, you hit something, and that these things retaliated because something was run over.
Yeah, I guess you mean like an animal or something? Yeah.
And so do you have any knowledge of that at all?
No, unless it was a squirrel or something, a rabbit or something like that, there's no way I would have known that, of course. But no, as far as anything like a deer or anything, no, nothing like that, because we would have had to stop.
Absolutely. So just hypothetically, what if you guys had ran over something and it was a young one of these, and that's why the attack happened? You don't believe that for a second?
I try to keep an open mind, but no, I don't. Believe that's
because you were there, you would have known if something was run over, right?
Exactly. Like I said, other than if it was some, a small, a little critter of some kind, but.
So that theory doesn't. For your money, that theory doesn't hold water. Now, that's a theory that was thrown out there that there was. This is what I heard, that there was a small dogman type creature, but they didn't say dogman. They said it was like a wolf type creature that had been found dead on the side of the road, and shortly after that is when this attack took place. I didn't know what to believe or what to make of that, but you're saying that that's not the case. So we're gonna leave that on the shelf for now. Another theory, like I said, do you believe that it's possible that these people were that had something that drew these creatures to them, that it could have had something to do with their departure from the Amish community?
Like you're talking like witchcraft or conjured up something?
Absolutely.
No, I'll have to say no.
No. Wow. So you believe, in your honest opinion, that this was just a chance encounter? But what could have drawn these creatures to you guys? That's the question. I don't.
Well, I guess it's not like a broken record. I think it was just happenstance. I think we were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I think when Stephen and Levi was around back getting wood and stuff, I think the noise is what drew these things in, or got their attention, I should say. That's the only, or just even our presence, pulling in and having to unhook the tow car, and just normal voices and just us doing our thing. I think that's just the only thing that brought him in. I don't think they were conjured up or anything like that.
And do you think that they were hunting? These things were hungry?
I would say no, because with all the fabulous stories that are out there that these, and this is hard for me, man. It really is, and it really makes me angry. The people are saying they were tore up the way they were. That is an absolute lie. That never happened. They were not tore. They looked bad, but they were not tore up. They weren't dismembered. They weren't decapitated. I don't believe they were hungry. I think they were just mad.
You think it was like a territorial thing?
Exactly. Oh. I think they were just mad.
Yeah, and they just said, we don't want you here, and so they killed these people.
Absolutely.
Now, here's another question, and somebody just posed it in the chat room. They were talking about someone being in a tree. Do you want to touch on that? Because that's another question that has been posed, that there was a child, and that would be the one they called Fanny. Is that correct? You've heard that was the young girl, right?
Yeah, that was Connie.
Connie.
No, she was not in a tree. Yep. I don't know where that story comes from. She was not. No, that makes me fighting mad.
Yeah, and so I don't know where that came from or how that got started, but that was the story that has been spread around, and until you came forward on the Cryptid Studies Institute, I've never touched this story. I've never really messed with it. It's not my wheelhouse. It's not. I'm dealing with stuff here in Texas. I got my own investigations and things going on. But the violent and aggressive nature of these entities, as I call them, does not surprise me at all. So for somebody, if somebody told me Wolf, that's my nickname. I don't know if you know that, but somebody said Josh or Wolf, and they said, hey, these things were, impaled someone into a tree, it wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, these people who believe that these things are benevolent, or they're here to protect us, or there's some sort of nature spirit thing, I'm just like, dude, okay. You can go on with that, because I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that they're nonviolent, and I don't believe that they don't hurt people. They just want to scare you. I honestly believe that the one that I saw when I was 15 was going to kill me. And I think the fence slowed it down, and I got away from it. The guy that I was with when this happened, he was hanging out with me, and when we saw this, he was walking with me. He became a preacher. And he's told my wife, he's told everybody that's ever asked him the same story I told. And he's a very, very religious person, probably more so than me. And he never makes any bones about that it was evil, and that it was trying to come at us. And it was sneaky what it did. It ran across the road and then tried to cut back. And so you know, he felt like it would have tried to kill us. And I don't believe in any of this nonsense about these things being nonviolent. I just don't. I've seen too many things. I got just right out here in Central Texas, somebody who was attacked by one. And I'm not saying it's the same creature that you saw, but when you see some aberration, and I don't mean apparition, I mean aberration. People can look that word up. It's when you see something that doesn't look correct, running around on two legs, and it looks like a predator. I don't suggest going and giving it gifts of tobacco and apples. Okay. I would suggest getting your butt out of there as fast as you can, because these things, I do believe, are territorial, and I believe that they're not good. So that being said, I just wanted to get that out there, because there's so many people who have these ridiculous ideas and opinions, and just because something does something physical too does not mean that it's physically based. It can manifest itself as physical. I can tell you that 100% too. And I'm not an expert on this in any shape or form, Roger. I don't pretend to be an expert, and I don't know what you went through. I can't say. If your story is to be believed, and it sounds credible, but if your story is to be believed, it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrific thing, and it tears my guts out to think that this poor family, they left to get away from something bad, and they ended up being killed in a situation with something worse. You know, it was like out of the fat into the fryer. And so if this is what happened, I'm sorry that this happened to you. And I wish that you didn't have to have gone through that, and you didn't have to go through the emotions of what transpired that day. And I thank God in heaven that I have not been attacked, or I wasn't killed. Now, one of the things that happened to me, Roger, after my incident, for years and years, I had nightmares. Now, have you experienced that too? Have you had these nightmares, or?
Yes, I have. And like I had said, with my interview with the Cryptid Institute, I don't want to compare myself to a combat veteran, period, because that'd just be disrespectful. But I kind of feel maybe what they're feeling in some instances, because for the longest time I'd wake up and it was like I was there. It was real. They were there. It was happening. And I'd pull myself out of it, and I went through a time where I was trying to keep myself awake, and it was affecting me physically and then mentally, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So it was bad. Like I said, everything gets a little bit better, but there's not a single day that goes by that I don't wake up, and it's probably one of the first things on my mind.
Knowing
until the day I die.
So, and let me ask you a question. Knowing what you know about the nature of these things, that they do exist, do you ever fear, like, because you live out on a farm in Iowa, I mean, do you ever fear of anything happening to you, like, when you're out in the countryside or in the woods? Do you worry about your children?
No, I always, always kept, when they were younger, I always kept them close. But no, I grew up in the outdoors, hunting, fishing. I was blessed to have a father that taught me those things, and it's folded over into my kids. And no, I honestly do not have any fear of these things being around. I don't know why, but I don't. It doesn't enter my mind that those things might be where I'm at.
Wow. And so, in your opinion, you don't. Let's say. Let me rephrase this. You don't let it bother you, and as far as like going and living your everyday life, although it is something that you think about regularly. And you do feel it, but you don't let it bother your comings and goings every day.
Exactly. It got to the point where I have to live. I have to go on because I have a family, and like anybody that has been through some kind of trauma like this, you always ask, why didn't I go too? Well, and I'm not afraid to admit it. And I've said it several times. It was because I was a coward. That's why I'm here right now, is because I was a coward.
You were 15. I mean, I was 15 when I had my encounter, and my friend is always apologizing about him running and leaving me there. But I don't remember it happening, but my shirt was ripped. And it was not because of this creature. It didn't touch me, but it was because he ripped my shirt. He ripped my shirt trying to grab me to go. He was trying to pull me away to go. And all I did was stand there frozen. From that day forward, I made a vow to myself that I would never freeze up, in the face of danger. And I've held that to myself.
I believe that 100%.
I mean, and anytime anybody's ever called me to the floor or gotten in my face and whatever, and I've always taken the challenge, because I feel like that day I balked and I was afraid, and I lived my life in fear of these things for a while. And then I said, you know what, to heck with that. I'm not going to live my life like that. I'm too big and too strong. And I do think that part of what drives me to go to the gym and bench 600 pounds is because if something ever comes down the pipe, I want to be able to defend myself and those that I care about and I love, not just from humans, but whatever these things could be. And I make no bones that I would not, but I could do what I can maybe and help them get away. That's all you can really do. But I want to ask you another question. What was in the tree? Because according to the theory of the child being in the tree, and you said that absolutely was not true. What was in the tree, according to you?
It was one of the creatures. It was the creature that was shot by Levi and myself.
Okay. So
I know that for 100%.
So okay, hold on. Let me ask you a question though, because you said that the one that was in the tree was the one that was shot by Levi and yourself. So but you said that the one you shot ran into the ravine.
He was shot twice. He was shot first by Levi.
Okay.
And then was attacked. Levi was attacked, and then this thing killed him. And then when he went past the door is when I shot him in the back, or between the shoulder blades, kind of the upper back. And that's when he went down on one knee to the side. And he got back up, just went a few steps and started slapping himself in the side of the head, and did kind of a weird foot shuffle type thing, and then ran down into the ravine. And at that time, when he ran down into the ravine, I did not know at that time that he had went into the tree and expired. I didn't know that until I had come back. I was taken back to the campground. I know that.
But you knew that there was two.
I absolutely know there was two. I did not see two, though.
Okay. And tell the audience how you knew that there was a second one.
When this started happening, Diane and Connie was screaming. Diane screamed, it's coming through the back, it's coming through the window, and I could physically hear it. I could physically hear it coming through the window, through the back of the motorhome. And that's when I dropped the 410, because I figured that they would be, since this thing was coming through, they would be right behind me. And once I got down, at least underneath the bottom side of the motorhome, I could grab them by the ankle, something to let them know, to drag them under there with me. And that never happened.
Yeah. I want to address something from the chat room. Smith with no name says humans would do far better to look at themselves and their behavior. However, most dare not. Instead, prefer to project onto people and animals, other people and animals. I want to address that. These things are not animals, point blank. I don't agree with that. I believe what you're saying, that they do project, like a shark attacks somebody and like the shark is evil. Well, it's just doing what it does. It eats and you're there and you look tasty. But I don't think these things are animals. I just don't. I mean, they're walking around bipedally and they don't have the appearance of any animal I've ever seen. And, I just don't believe that. So anyways, I just wanted to address that real quick. in your opinion now, Roger, what you saw, would you consider them animals?
Well, I guess I can't consider him a human. I've never seen anything like it before. I'm not educated enough on these things. I'd have to call them an animal because that's what they look like. They obviously didn't look like a human.
No, they don't. So humanoidal, maybe. Now, let me ask you this: what about the tail? What did the tail look like?
I did not see one.
Oh, you didn't see a tail?
I did not see a tail, and that doesn't mean that there wasn't one. It wasn't small, but I did not see a tail.
So let me ask you another question, and this is a very important one too. When you said you shot, were you inside the mobile trailer?
It was a motorhome.
Motorhome, yeah.
And I was right. When you go into this particular motorhome, there's a step. There's the main steps that fold out, and then there's another, like a small platform. Then you step up into the motorhome. I had stepped down onto the first platform right before you step outside onto the main steps, and then it went by, and that's when I basically I fired blind. I knew I'd be in the direction, and that's when I pulled the trigger and I hit him.
And so. But at some point you ended up underneath the motorhome?
Yes, I did. That's when, like I said, Diane and Connie started yelling, and I rolled underneath the motorhome, just physically rolled underneath of it, and just instantly looked up, and things happen so fast. I got enough room to get up in there, and that's what I did. And I got up in between the framework, and that's where I stayed.
How long had the motorhome been sitting before you crawled up underneath it?
Oh, it had to have been an hour and a half, I guess. And like I want to reiterate, my times may be off by an hour. I had no idea I'd ever have to be keeping time for this, so I do apologize, but it was no more than my time being off was no more than an hour, but we were there probably an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
I just want to say something real quick if I can. The drive shaft wasn't hot. There was nothing warm underneath that motorhome, and in a situation like that, even if it was gonna burn me, I wouldn't have cared. I was not moving, but I did not get burned. It wasn't hot underneath there, nothing like that.
And I want to address another quick question here, Roger. Whisper to a Scream podcast. That's Ryan. Ryan says, at Kirk Seltzer, no, but then again, I'd not leave kids around a domestic dog I did not know, nor would I leave them around bears. Doesn't mean that they're evil. It means that it's the nature of the beast. I'll say this. We don't have Dogman and Bigfoot as pets. There are people who claim they have, and I did a story about one. But that's what they told me. They could tell you anything they want. It's just, when somebody says, "Oh, okay, these things are all evil," I believe that the ones that were responsible for this and the ones that I've researched, they're evil because they do things like attack people, attack people's vehicles, try to attack people. Those are the ones I'm talking about. They're obviously, it's not just a territorial thing. The one that came at me, that wasn't its territory. That was a neighborhood where we were living. So somebody's going to tell me, oh, it was a territory. What was it defending? It was digging in a ditch, and we were kids walking by, and it decided to try to attack us. Maybe it was hungry. I don't know. But it was a humanoidal type creature, and it looked evil, and it gave off the presence of evil. And I am a sensitive when it comes to spiritual things, and I could feel something off of it that just, looking back on it, I feel like it was. I mean, I've searched myself many times, and that's the conclusion I come to on that. It's my opinion. Ryan's encounter was not aggressive. It was a hyena type creature that he saw, and we've got lots of reports of those, but we've also gotten reports of those climbing on people's houses and tearing up things and doing things that are, very not good. So Yeah, just because it doesn't attack you doesn't mean that it's not bad. And I'm not saying, I just said that, I'm thinking we should err on the side of caution. When you see something like this, I don't think you should like flee in terror because it may chase you if you're on foot, because that's what predators do. But you should not go toward it, and you should err on the side of caution and think this thing is probably not a good thing. I think that's what keeps people safe and alive. And you say you were a coward, that's why you were alive. You did what a 15-year-old kid would do. Now, I remember you saying that you were small for your age. What chance would you have had against one of these creatures? I mean, what could you possibly do other than hide and maybe, like you said, shoot blind? There's not a whole lot that someone can do in that situation. If this is, this is your truth, is what you claim happened. So if somebody was in that position, if it was me, I'm pretty sure I would have probably had to do the same thing. I mean, what can you do? You can't run out there and fight this thing or these things, because obviously they were killing people. And that brings me to another point about your story. You said that these were clean kills. Is that correct?
Well, I never said they were a clean kill. I just said that they were not as horrific as the stories that I've heard made them out to be. They were bad, but they weren't tore up. They were not dismembered, decapitated, nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that at all.
Okay, so the stories in the reports that people have said, there was just this horrific, there was blood everywhere, they were torn to shreds, and people were in trees. That none of that happened the way that you're describing it.
There was blood, and there was, and I do believe that the creature, or whatever you want to call it, did probably die of massive blood loss, because there was blood from this thing, from where it started, trailed clear, as I later found out, clear into the ravine, then into the tree. It was clear up into the tree bleeding. But as far as the family, there was blood, but it wasn't, they weren't, God, I hate to even make it sound, I mean, talked about it just being tore up. I mean, I'd say talking about that, but they weren't tore up. They just weren't.
Yeah.
There was more of a, they were either had broken necks, or they were bit in the neck, or something to that effect. But.
And so these things were able to kill this whole family, you being the only survivor.
Yes.
Yeah, and they did it pretty much almost, I guess, the way you're describing it, methodically, without even like that didn't take a lot of like ravaging of the body or anything like that. It was just like they killed them, and it was quick.
That's correct.
Yeah, and let me ask you one more question, and I'm not trying to fry you here or anything like that, but I got to ask this: what were you doing with the family at the age of 15? It was just you traveling with that family.
Well, the relatives that I was visiting, I end up having to go from Iowa to Indiana with, because they were getting older, and I was kind of there to assist them. And it just got to be a little much for me. And I know there was somebody who mentioned that, well, why wasn't he in school or something like that? And I should have been. I mean, I should have been in school, but my parents did let me take some time off because they were relatives to kind of help out with them. It was, a close-knit family. And that's why I wasn't in school. But and your question was, how did I get to go with them? I basically got permission, so that's how I ended up on the in the motorhome and with them to the campground.
And how old were these people, each one of them? Can you tell me?
Well, I don't know about the Levi and Diane. I can only guesstimate, in their 40s, I'm guessing, maybe late 30s. And of course, Stephen was 13 and Connie was 9.
And Connie is the one they called Fanny.
Yeah. Yep. And she just has a soft spot in my heart.
So after this happened, after this horrific incident took place, what did you do immediately after it happened?
Well, I rolled up underneath the motorhome when this happened. Is that what you're saying, or what was your question?
Yeah, like right after it happened, like just kind of take me through just the immediate, like what happened right afterwards.
Well, during the attack, I went up underneath the motorhome and I stayed there long enough till there again, time just, I don't know if it sped up or slowed down. It was just crazy. But I got out and I didn't hear anything anymore. I didn't see anything. And I just got in my mind, I'm going to run. I'm just going to run. That's when I ran. And I got to the entrance and I looked left, looked right, decided to run right. And I got probably, I don't know, 50 feet, maybe 100 feet to the right. And I seen lights, and then a blue Ford pickup I got picked up from a farmer. And I'd like to kind of find out where, if the gentleman's still alive. I don't know any roads or anything, but I know if I seen the farm again, I'd know it. I'd know it right off the bat if I could see it again, where I was at.
Have you been back since it happened?
No, I was going to go back. I think it was in 87 or 88. I thought I had the courage to go back, and I just didn't. I was just wishful thinking, I guess.
So I have a question for you, Roger. And I know you've already talked and been through a lot. You have had some issues with some people who have questioned your story and the validity of it. Do you and I'm not here to crush the veracity of your story or anything like that. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just trying to let you have your platform, because I let Jody have his platform. And as you know, Jody is not a believer of your story. And then we had Cryptid Studies Institute. They came on and they talked about it. And now you have talked about what happened to you and your truths. How about this? Okay. Would you be willing to allow Jody Cook to come on and talk to you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay, because I wanted to make sure that we were clear on that. We had talked about it, but we weren't, we just kind of threw it out there. So I'm going to try to call Mr. Cook, and I'm going to have him come on. Now, here's the thing. No profanity, no arguing, screaming, yelling, whatever. Everybody can just present their side of everything. But the first thing I wanted to do, I wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page. Okay. So I want to have Jody come on, and I want to make sure that everybody understands the ground rules when we bring him on, that there's not going to be any cursing. And so you agree to that right away, right?
100%.
Okay. Yeah, because that's important. I want to make sure that everybody's so I'm going to call Mr. Cook and see if I can get him to come on, because I believe he's in the chat room. And so let's make that call. So but first, hold on one second, because I'm having to use Anthony's phone. Anthony, your phone is not laid out like mine. Okay, where is it? Is it? There we go. Okay, your phone is more archaic than mine. Just kidding. All these phones are the same nowadays. All right. So we're going to call Mr. Cook. I'm going to put you on a brief hold there. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, Jody, this is Turner, Josh Turner.
How you doing?
Would you like to be patched through to talk to Roger on the live stream on my show?
Sure, I don't have any issue with that.
Okay. All right. Let's merge the calls here. Okay. All right, gentlemen. Roger, are you there? Okay. Yeah. Roger's there. And Jody, you're there? Hello, Jody?
Yes.
Okay. So I have you both on here, and you guys are, in the last few weeks have been in polar opposites of this story. Okay. First I gave Jody the platform to talk, and then I got people saying, hey, what about the other people? And I didn't really have any plans to do anything beyond that, but Johnny from the Cryptid Studies Institute reached out to me, and I said, hey, he said that he thought that I handled it well with you, Jody, and he offered to talk. And I said, hey, you want to come on the show? He said, yes. And then Roger, they gave you my number and you called me. And so now we're all sitting here like adults. Okay. Nobody raising voices, no yelling and no cursing. That's all I ask is just don't do that to me on my show here, guys. Let's talk like adults. Now, I've given Roger the floor for the last, hour or whatever. What, Jody, from what your understanding of this story is, what is the main focus of what of why you don't believe what Roger is saying? Like, what is the main thing that stands out that you have a problem with? Starting with that, let's just go from there.
Well, basically, I have been excuse me, I've investigated this story for 30 years. Okay. There's a handful of researchers, okay, that actually has 20 to 30 years experience investigating LBL. Okay. Now, each researcher has their own contacts, okay, about the story. So the basic thing is the story has never changed in 30 years. Okay. Never changed. Okay. Whatever I was told by my contacts was told to J.C. Johnson and his contacts, Barton Nutley and his contacts, Kimbo and his contacts. Nothing has changed. Maybe light, small details. Okay. But it basically stayed the same. Now, Jan Thompson was the one that actually broke the story. Okay. Because she was good friends with the two police officers that responded to the incident first. Okay. It was the ones that found the little girl in the tree. Now, why would Jan Thompson, okay, make this story up? Now, this story has been out by her since, the 80s. Okay. I've talked to at least 6 different police officers that were on the scene who never mentioned anything about a survivor, never mentioned anything about a body of a dead dog man, never mentioned anything that Roger's mentioning in his story. Everybody has always said the little girl was in the tree. The father had his arm.
Oh, no. Sorry about that, folks.
I never heard anything about someone's head being removed. This is actually the first time I've ever heard anything about that, about a head being removed. But the story's never changed. Okay. And if Roger's story is true, somebody would have seen him brought back to the scene of the crime. And that's another thing I have a real problem with, because, I'm a former deputy sheriff. Okay. So I'm looking at this as a law enforcement view. Okay. You have a sole survivor. Okay. You have 4 dead people, one of them with a gunshot wound. Okay. You have a clean kill, which he got in the interview. He said it was a clean kill. You have a weapon with his fingerprints on it. And the thing about shotguns, okay, you can't tell the difference between, 20 gauge, 410, or 12 gauge. Okay, a coroner probably could tell the difference between that. Okay, so as a law enforcement looking at it, this guy would never have been taken back to the scene of the crime. He would have been taken to the police station and he would have been drilled because he's the sole survivor. They would not care about a story about monsters killing the family. They would have left that up to his defense attorney to try to get him off of a murder case. Okay, so these things just don't make sense. He stated in the interview with Cryptid Study Institute, he saw 2 of them. I listened to it today. Okay, another one of our team members listened to it today. He said he saw 2 of them. Tonight, he said he didn't see 2 of them. There's just holes in his story.
Listen to that. You better listen to that because I never said I seen 2. I said there was 2.
You said there was 2, but you said you saw 2.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did. It's on tape.
Absolutely. Okay. Better go back and listen to it then, Jody.
I did. I listened to it before I got on here.
Play it now. Play it now.
I can't play it now because I'm on here. Look, Roger, if you want to get into a pissing match, we can get into one. Okay?
All right, guys. Guys, we're not doing that. Language, and here's the thing. All right, Roger, hang on one second. Let Jody say what he's going to say, and then we'll get back to you, Roger. All right, I promise. So go ahead, Jody, finish what you were saying.
Okay, but the point of it is there's nothing in his story, okay, that has ever been heard before. Okay, nothing. If he was brought back to the scene, somebody would have seen him and somebody would have said something. If the dog man was in the tree and not the little girl, then somebody would have said the dog man was in the tree and not the little girl. Okay, nothing in his story. It's a complete 160 degrees different, okay, of what everybody's known for 30 years. Okay, there's a couple other details that he talked about. Well, let's talk about him going under the RV. Okay, well, if the RV drove 8 to 10 hours, okay, and this incident happened within an hour of them being there, if he got under the drive shaft, he would have got burnt because that drive shaft would have been at least 400 degrees. Okay, I talked to the company that made that, and I talked to a truck mechanic. Okay, and there's no way. Even first he said he was holding on for 15 minutes. Okay, then he says he was holding on to it for an hour, and then he says, "Well, I was so scared I would have held on to it. I wouldn't know if I got burnt." Well, after you got off of it and got back to your senses, you would have known you got burnt. Okay, that engine still would have been hot. Okay, it just depends on what the temperature is outside. It depends on how long it's going to get cooled down. Okay, now, and that's the issue. I mean, there's nothing. It's nothing. It's like someone coming today and saying that I'm the guy that was wearing the werewolf costume on Halloween on the first Bray Road sighting, and I got away with it. So I've been doing out on Bray Road, picking up an animal kill like I'm eating it, and people driving by. So Bray Road doesn't exist because I was the guy wearing the costume. Okay, this story is just like that. Okay, no one has ever heard about it before, and then all of a sudden, the story's out there. Okay, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so what he's basically saying is that everybody who has investigated this story either were lying or were wrong. Okay, so you can't have dozens and dozens and dozens of witnesses talk to researchers and not get a story. And they're not like they're all working together, okay, keeping this one story together with all these other details. Okay, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, Jody, let me ask you a question. All right, first of all, for the people at home who are uninitiated, who don't know who these people are, who is Jan Thompson? Explain to people who that is.
Jan Thompson is the one that actually basically broke the LBL story of the family. She knew the two police officers that responded there. The police officers came to her work. She was working at a convenience store. The police officers frequent that convenience store, and they told her what happened. And she documented. And the thing here's the thing, okay? Her grandfather was the sheriff of that county. So if that incident happened, he would have known about it. And she would have known about it. Okay? So that's another part of the story. But she did mention things that her grandfather, they knew that there was something in that park because they were having sightings. Okay? But if there was a survivor, okay, he would have known about it. Her grandfather would have known about it because it was his people that arrived on the scene. So somebody would have seen him standing there talking to, people.
And so, okay, so let's stop right there for a minute. Do you want to rebuttal on any of the things that he's just brought up, Roger?
Sure, I'd be glad to. First of all, we'll go back to the motorhome where he said the time differences. First, he said I was there 15 minutes and an hour. I think anybody out there needs to go back and listen to it because obviously he did it. I never once said I was underneath that motorhome for an hour. I said 15 to 20 minutes is what I had said my estimated time was. So I don't know where he gets this hour thing. Number two, about the temperature of the drive shaft and so forth. Now, he said, first he said I would have got burnt by the engine. Just, you can go back and listen to that. I was nowhere near the engine. Transmission was the closest mate to the engine that I would have been close to. Now, here's something, just real quick. My son and I drag race. We drag race a 1986 Mustang GT. For you fans out there, it's a Fox body. We're always taking track temperatures to see what's the best temperature for our slicks to hook up, and that's usually about 92 degrees for our particular car. It's a 560 horsepower engine. Okay, we take engine temperature. Now this is done electronically, and the headers, and a few people don't know what that is. That's performance exhaust that come off the head. Those headers, after running and then running a quarter mile, then back to the pits, taking the temperature is about 520 degrees. So what Jody's saying is those headers, they're basically on fire at 500 and whatever degrees. The drive shaft is going to be that as well. You take the temperature of that drive shaft, which we do, and the drive shaft itself is lucky if it's running 85 degrees. So where he gets these, I don't know who his mechanic is, but it's absolutely wrong. And Jody also mentioned he called the manufacturer of the motorhome company. He just said that. Everybody heard it. Who was that, Jody? Who was the manufacturer of the particular motorhome?
No, I said I called a manufacturer.
No. You said you called the manufacturer. Look, play it back.
Dude, look, listen.
No. Don't get out of this.
No. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me mediate for a minute. Jody, I do.
No, listen. The people who made it.
Hold on, guys.
Son, you better calm down.
Everybody calm down. All right? Don't do this on my show. Everybody be respectful. Jody, okay, just real quick here. I'm your friend, all right? Now, it did sound like, and I can't say 100% because, we're recording live. It's going live. But it sounded like you said you called the manufacturer of that particular.
No, the manufacturer was Holiday. Okay. Now, Holiday's out there. There's a whole bunch of them out there that's people are selling that used. You can get one anywhere for $2,000 to $3,000 depending. Okay, they're not even in existence anymore. The manufacturer. Okay. I called a manufacturer about a motorhome, asking about the temperature of the vehicle, okay, and got it confirmed through a mechanic.
And so, so you, in your opinion, Jody, you believe that is enough evidence to say that this guy's story is just not on the up and up, just not just from, you know.
No. Here's the thing that people need to understand about LBL. Okay. LBL, the whole story itself, regardless if it's coming from Roger, regardless if it's coming from me, coming from you, coming from anybody else, okay, is that it cannot be verified. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the problem with the LBL case. You can talk to as many people as you want, okay, about LBL, okay, witnesses, whomever, okay. You can't verify anything. Just because you talk to a witness that says, I'm a law enforcement officer, okay? Or I'm a worker there at LBL and this is what happened. Okay, that's fine. You can verify that they worked there, but you can't verify that that story is legit.
So, Jody, let's move forward in this here. And before I go forward, Voltron says, that's why I love this show, the way Wolf handles and tells the incidents. Much props and respect. Thank you for your donation, Voltron. Always appreciative. Here's the thing, guys. We want to move. We want to move in a direction where we're all on the same page. Okay. Now it seems like you guys are so eager to argue and fight and refute each other's what they have to say. Is there anything positive that you can say, Jody, to Roger about his story? I mean, is there anything at all that you can say that's positive? I'm just asking.
No, I mean, there's nothing I can think that's positive. I mean, you have to understand when you're researching something and you research it for years and years and years, and you get one story, okay, mm-hmm. and you get bits and pieces of the stories. Okay, from different witnesses, you're trying to put it all together. Okay, and like I said, everything's basically about the same, but you get one or two small pieces, okay, that are minor pieces. Roger's story, okay, is completely different from what any researcher has ever researched about LBL.
And you had mentioned earlier, okay, just straight up, you mentioned Barton Nunley. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Barton is a good friend of mine, and I don't know what Barton, I mean, what dog he has in this fight, but what you talked to Barton Nunley, and he said that he agreed or disagreed, or what is it that he says about Roger and his story?
No, he was like me in the beginning. We kind of really believed, I can't say we believed the story, but we thought it was very interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm. Until we start researching it and figure out, it doesn't match up to anything we done. But I can't speak for Barton about for what he believes. I can only tell you in conversations that we've had issues with the story. Yeah. Okay. I'm telling you, I'll be the first to tell you, it's a fascinating story. And I just can't believe how many, you got 300 people on here, and
441 actually.
I mean, they're buying it.
Well, not everybody is. I mean, it's kind of split.
Well, I'm kind of reading it.
Well, I mean, you're reading the chat, but I'm getting messages left and right on my messenger, and not everybody. And Roger, it's nothing against you, but a lot of people aren't buying it, but a lot of people are too. It's about 50-50. I mean, honestly.
Well, and the people who are buying it either don't know jack about LBL, or they think they know about LBL, or they just recently heard about LBL, and it's new to them. It's one of these things that, yes, they want to believe, they need to believe, Jody Cook's the bad guy, Jody Cook, doesn't believe this guy, this poor guy's a, victim, blah, 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 because I don't agree with the guy's story.
Okay. And I want to say something really quick here on the chat. Hold on, Jody. I want to answer this. This comment was kind of rude, and I don't appreciate it. But somebody just said, "Oh, Jody, you wasted 30." Let me say something, folks. All right, I'm going to say this right now. Somebody just said Jody wasted 30 years of his life. I'm like, no, he did not. Okay, first of all, Okay, I know Jody Cook very well, and he did not waste 30 years of his life. Jody has been in the ufology field. He's been in the Bigfoot field. He's been doing research on these subjects for a long time, and he has a very similar view to me that's all connected. And I'm going to say this, he didn't waste 30 years of his life. So that is a very unfair comment to make. And like I said, I'm not choosing sides here, Roger, Jody, but somebody makes a comment like that about this guy, and you don't know him like I do. So let's keep those kind of comments out before you get kicked out, because, you know, whatever the situation is, this man did not waste 30 years of his life. He's not like, he's like, oh, I wasted 30 years. I lived out there like a hermit. No, that's not what happened. Okay. He did research out there. That doesn't mean that encompassed his entire life, or his entire existence was based upon his research at LBL. So that's not correct to say things like that. And Jody has done a lot of good work, and I've talked to him a lot about a lot of research that he's done. So let's have a little more respect when it comes to making comments like that. So anyways, Jody, go ahead. I'm sorry for that.
No, that's fine. But what I was saying is, just because I don't agree with Roger's story, okay, doesn't mean I hate the guy. Okay. I don't agree with him. I don't know the man. Okay. I don't know the man personally, so I cannot tell you what type of person he is. Okay. I'm not buying the story. Okay. I'm not buying the story because I have been researching this for 30 years. Okay. I know other researchers who have been doing it for just as long as I have.
Like Barton.
Okay. Like Barton and like Kumbo and J.C. Johnson.
Kumbo, the late J.C. Johnson, great
J.C. Johnson, you know, and none of them, and I talked to all of them, you know, and none of them have ever heard the story. But but that's the thing, okay? No one has heard anything to it. We're not saying that the guy's lying. We're not saying that the guy's making the story up. All we're saying is that no one has ever heard anything about this. It's completely brand new. It's no different from somebody coming up out of nowhere and said, you know what? I was on the airplane that went into the World Trade Center. I survived. I was able to get downstairs. I was just so much out of my mind, you know, and I was so afraid to come forward because no one would believe me. And now everybody's talking about the World Trade Center, blah, blah, blah. And I'm coming forward and telling the story. Okay, I was on the plane. It's that type of scenario. Okay, but no one's saying, well, you know, this guy has a mental problem. No one's saying this guy, you know, is doing it for money, because I know he's not doing it for money. I know he doesn't have a mental issue. But the point of what I'm saying is that, you know, if there was just one iota of evidence that he said that was in research of LBL that I did, or any other researcher, then we could say, hey, it's a possible chance. But there's nothing. His story does not connect to anything
that has previously been said.
That is previously been said. But like I said, the problem with LBL is that you cannot verify the incident that happened. Anybody can say they were there, they were a survivor. Anybody can say that they were a law enforcement officer there. You know, anybody can say anything.
Okay, so let me hold you right there for a minute, Jody. Now, Roger, I'm going to give you a chance to speak now. Roger, what Jody is saying is like what and I know to you, if your story is to be believed, that it's trivializing your story. But in Jody's case, he feels like your story coming out of left field, having never been talked about, and you waiting so long to come out and say it, he feels like it's trivializing his research. So you guys are at odds here. But here's the thing. I want to say something, Jody, because you don't believe it, that's completely your God-given right. You know, you have every right to not agree to his story, not believe it. But what Roger, I think, and I'm not trying to speak for you, Roger, I'm going to let you have your say, but answer this question, Roger. Do you feel like, he is coming at you from an angle of negativity, like he's attacking you for not believing your story? Is that what your problem? That's what you feel like the problem is, or what's going on?
Yeah, attack is a strong word. I don't believe he's trying to do that. I believe Jody's very passionate about his work. And that's great. He should be. And I agree with a lot of the stuff he just said. I mean, proof. That's the big thing on what anybody does. And I want to throw this out there. It seems, and this is no disrespect to Jody, this is just the stories that are out there. It seems like everybody knows somebody that had an uncle, that had a brother, that had a sister's uncle's aunt, that knew somebody that was there, but not a single name. Nobody wants to come forward. I gave my name, my state. I'm talking here with you. You have my phone number. I have nothing to hide. If all these supposable police officers, investigators were there, you tell me not one single human being is going to come forward and say, no. I guess there was one or two on supposedly on their deathbed that come forward and said, but there again, that's hearsay. But none of these officers want to come forward and show their faces and say, hey, I was there. But this is what is not making me mad at Jody, but the stories in general. I'm telling you, there was not one single local law enforcement there. There was no state patrol, state police. There was nothing, like no sheriffs, no deputy sheriffs or anything like that. I was old enough to know what those vehicles look like. There was nothing. There was absolutely no local police there. These vehicles were strictly, and I don't know if they were National Guard or what they were, but the bigger ones, definitely military like National Guard. And the other ones, but I don't know if they were FBI. There was no identification or anything saying that they were, but they were dressed like it. That's what a person would see, how they would judge. You did not immediately think FBI. But no identification or anything like that. But they took me back there from the farmhouse, and asked me three things. They showed me inside the motorhome. That's how I know the condition of the bodies. Okay, and they were not tore up. And they asked me specifically, who or what did this? That was the first question they asked me.
So going back to Jody here, do you believe that what he just said, I mean, is it possible? I mean, you're not believing it's probable, but is it possible that he's correct?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay, you were going in and out. That's why I was asking. Go say it again, because I said you were going out.
Do you believe that in what he's saying is possible? It doesn't have to be probable in your mind, but do you believe that it could be true? Like what he's saying could be the truth?
Well, no, like I said, you got to refresh because it was going in and out. I didn't even hear part of what he said.
Okay, okay, you want to repeat that, Roger? Do you mind repeating that last part? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me now, Jody?
Yeah.
Okay. What my big issue is with the people that are saying that they know somebody that had an uncle or an aunt or somebody that knew somebody that was actually there at the site, at the campground that night, and telling me there's not a single officer, state trooper, or anybody that wants to come forward full faced, on camera, that wants to admit that they were there. Nobody. There hasn't been a single one. And this isn't anything against your research, but I'm just telling you, and I'm telling the rest of the people out there, there was never, ever, ever any local police, state police, or county sheriffs. I was old enough to know what those particular vehicles look like. They're probably like, there's a difference between for a sheriff's car to a city police, then the state troopers. They're all different. They all look different. Not a single one was there. Nothing. These were what I presume to be either military. The bigger vehicles were, and the other were just plain dark. Most of them were darker colored because it was a little bit later when I got back, but they looked to be black. But there was no identification to these gentlemen at all. No FBI or anything like that. But where they say that these local police, all these police officers was there, the presence of it just did not happen. They were not there.
Well, here's the problem. And what you're saying.
Why would city police be out there?
The only city police that would have been there would have been Grand Rapids. Okay, because that was the closest town. Okay, only other law enforcement agency that would have been there would have been either the state police because it's federal property and the local sheriff's department. Okay, those would have been law enforcement on there. The FBI would have never been on that scene, okay, unless they knew a child was missing and they would have brought them in just for that particular case because a child was missing. Okay, so that's the problem. But see, here's the thing. I've never heard in my investigation of 30 years, I never heard anything about the FBI ever being on property. Okay, I never heard that. The military, well, the military's at LBL all the time because Fort Campbell uses that facility or uses that area as a training facility. So that's why you see military there. Okay, but the military would never be used in an incident to go look for dogmen. In this particular case, the military would never been out there. There was no reason for the military to be there because that's not the military job. I know. I spent 20 years in the Army. Okay, they would never have been there unless that they're there on a training exercise and you just happen to see them. Because this was 30 years ago. Okay, things have changed, memories have changed. Okay, anybody you could have just seen it and thought that maybe they were there. Okay, but the military would never been there for any reason whatsoever. Okay, looking for a cryptid, looking for this. It doesn't matter. Now, to get back to what you're saying about having uncles and friends and everybody, knowing somebody. Yeah, that's true. You get that. Okay, why don't law enforcement? None of them came forward because most of them were still working at the time and didn't want to lose their job talking about this because they were told to be quiet. Now, can we verify that they were told they would be quiet? No, you can't, because who are you going to call? Are you going to call their supervisor and say, hey, did you tell this cop he couldn't talk about it? No. Okay, so this is why people didn't come forward. Why no one's coming forward now? Because most of these guys are dead. Okay, they're dead. Every officer, there's 6 of them that I've dealt with in 30 years. Every single one of them's dead. They've all died. Okay, that's why none of them came forward. Okay, could they have done it on their deathbed? Yeah, they could have done it on their deathbed, but you know what? They had other things they needed to worry about. So that's why they never came up with a story or talked about it, or they just never wanted to have anything to deal with it or anything to that, effect. But that's the whole reason why this stuff doesn't happen. Okay, where you don't have it. One time, I had one case where someone actually came forward and told a story who was a law enforcement officer about LBL. And I've got it on tape. It has nothing to do with your incident. It has something to do with a completely different incident. Okay, but that is what you deal with. So okay, and that's the thing that people need to understand. We're dealing with a story that cannot be verified if it even happened.
Let me ask.
Because
I'm sorry, Jody. Let me cut you off.
No.
Let me ask you this, guys. Now, you both agree. Like Barton Nunley is a guy who can be trusted. Like he is somebody that you trust, right, Jody? Mm-hmm. And he's a very experienced guy. How about we do this? Let me call Barton and bring him on, and then he can talk and give his opinion about this, about the LBL and what he thinks. Let me see if I can call him. Would you guys be okay with that?
Absolutely.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. All right. Let me call Barton. Hopefully he's not eating dinner or something. That's not working. Let me make sure I got the right number here. There it goes.
Hello?
Hey, is this Barton?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Josh Turner from Paranormal Round Table.
Josh, how's it going, man?
How's it going, buddy? I'm going to patch you through on a 3-way call with Jody Cook and Roger, the witness to the LBL. Is that okay?
Sure, man. We'll be mudging on the whole show.
Okay, good. All right, let's get
Excellent.
Let's get it through. All right. Okay, guys. Jody, are you there? Are you there, Roger?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Somebody needs to turn their TV down in the background. I don't know who that is. Okay, so Barton. Okay, let me introduce Barton Nunley, folks, to everybody. I know Jody, you know who he is, and you all know who he is. But I'm going to introduce everybody to this gentleman. Barton Nunley wrote a book called Inhumanoids. He's written books, but that is one of the most, to me, influential books I've read about the cryptids and about the whole phenomena. And so, hold on one second. Hold on one second, guys. Yeah, just making sure. Anyway, somebody was calling. Barton, now, you said you've been watching the show?
Sure. I've been eating popcorn. And you're right, it's one of the best shows, best podcasts that I've ever seen.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. That's so we got Jody on here, who's a
Hi, Jody.
long-time researcher, yeah, and you guys know each other.
Yeah,
and so Roger, do you know who Barton Nunley is?
No, I sure don't. I've just heard of him, but it's an honor to speak to him.
Yeah, Barton is a researcher for a long time. He's been a researcher, and he's a very down-to-earth guy, and he's a friend of mine. And so, Barton, do you want to weigh in on this and give us your opinion on what you think is going on? Just, and then we can get some questions here.
First of all, Jody's right. He doesn't speak for me. I'll be the first to admit I'm one of the researchers he's talking about, been researching this for 20 or 30 years now. But I'll be the first to admit that I don't know anything about the beast of LBL that hasn't been told to me by someone else. I've been down there so many times camping, just me and my wife, dozens of times, walking those trails at all hours of the night, in the spot where I was told that the murders took place back in 2005. So Jody's right. Jan did break the story, Jan Thompson, in my first book called Mysterious Kentucky. So, and I let her tell her story, but I don't have a vested interest in this at all. I have no dog in this race. That story, just like Roger's, it's either true or it's not, and it'll stand on its own merit if it's true. I do not discount Roger's story simply because Jody thinks the drive shaft was hot. I don't believe that's the case. But what I would like is, I would love to give Roger the same chance that I gave Jan Thompson 15 years ago to tell me the story, look me in my eyes and tell me the story, and let me make my, decision from there. Like Jody says, I don't know Roger. I haven't had any contact with him at all, and he doesn't know me. So it's hard to. So right now, you just have to choose who to believe. So Jody's research, all my research points to the story that's been around for 30 years, right? I haven't heard anything different, but that doesn't mean the research is true. It doesn't mean that Roger's lying. Yeah. So I would just love to get to the bottom of it. I'd love to talk to Roger, just like I did Jan Thompson 15 years ago, and just get a, impression of the guy. But right now, what I could hear, he sounds like he's telling the truth. I'll be just really honest. He doesn't sound like he's lying. He sounds like me talking about the Spotsville monster encounters that happened to my own family back in 1975. He doesn't hesitate when someone asks him a question. He doesn't back down, and he defends what he's saying. So that's the hallmark of someone telling the truth. Other people have not done that. Jody said, I would love to talk to some kind of law enforcement official that can corroborate one story or the other, but evidently there is none, or living. So what it sounds to me like is military. And I think we really aired a little bit tonight, Josh. It's a great show, but you didn't really let Roger tell his story in full before all the questions started flying at him. I was looking forward to see if he was going to tell the exact same story that I heard on the Cryptid Institute.
That's not my doing. That was per your request.
So
Roger, go ahead and tell that part right there.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with Mr. Turner. That was I requested that because
Oh, okay.
it was requested of me not to completely retell the story because of something that's pending.
Right.
I did agree to let anybody or whoever wants to pull me over the coals. I'll ask any question and I'll answer it truthfully.
And
Great,
actually,
Roger. That's all anybody can ask.
And
We'll
that
just
part
tell
right
the
there,
truth.
And Barton, that part right there was corroborated by Jody. Me and Jody, and when he said, "Hey, we can't tell the whole story," so that's all.
Right.
We understand that part right there.
Okay.
So everybody knows that. Just to clarify, now I said that toward the beginning of the show. Like Roger isn't going to tell the whole story that he already told to the Cryptid Studies Institute. Unfortunately, I believe the video has been taken down.
Yes.
But Roger has answered the questions that I have posed.
Right, and I have a couple questions for Roger myself.
Fire away.
If I might be able to ask him. Roger, why do you think they would have taken you back to the murder scene and not considered you a primary suspect, or if not the only suspect, to a quadruple murder? It's highly unusual that they would take the only suspect back to a murder scene. That's the first question. The second question is, did you actually see the dog man up in the tree? Or was it told to you, or did you see a picture, or was it there when you was there?
I'll answer the latter question first. And yes, I did. That's how I knew for a fact that's what was in the tree and not Connie. They had lights on that thing, and they weren't shooting at it or anything like that. It had expired in that tree.
Right. Okay.
The first question, I cannot honestly answer that, because I don't know why they would take me back unless they knew something. And I want to clarify something real quick that was said earlier. And Jody, I know it's no fault of yours by any means, but I'm not saying those were FBI. I'm just saying that's what they looked like. They literally had no type of identification at all. But there was what looked like military vehicle there, and there was other vehicle there other than local, state, and county police. There wasn't any of those there at that time. Later on, very well could have been. I'm not saying there wasn't at a later time, but then after it, there was absolutely none. But Walt is it could have been Walter, but Walt was the gentleman that was by my side, and I did get
your phone's breaking up a little bit there, Roger.
Yeah. I can barely hear you.
Is that better?
No. Try it again. Like, I don't know, maybe from a different angle or.
Okay, I haven't moved, so.
Okay.
Is that any better?
No, it's still kind of it's just kind of breaking up. But I mean, I can understand what you're saying. I just don't know if everybody at home listening can totally hear what you're saying. I mean, so.
Okay, is that any better?
It's kind of like, I don't know how to do it, but.
See, yeah, that was happening to me earlier when Jody was talking. I was just getting bits and pieces of what he was saying.
Yeah, it's kind of messing up there. Jody, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so when you were now, Barton just asked a question that was very like I know that you had posed that question before too, about the law enforcement and like he would be a prime suspect. But earlier when we were talking, I was kind of waiting. I thought maybe that would be something that you would ask, but you didn't ask that question. It was more about the heat under the vehicle and things like that.
No, I did. I believe I did say something about
him
being a prime suspect.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
he would be the only suspect, actually. He would be the only suspect. And the thing of it, like I said, they would have took him back to the police station. They would have questioned him there. They would have brought, most likely, the detective would have brought pictures of the bodies and, would have tried to get him to admit to the murders because his fingerprints are on a shotgun and they have a body of a child there with a shotgun. Yeah, right. And I'll say this. 2 shots from a 410 with 6.5 to 7.5 bird shots is not going to kill a creature like that.
No.
So if Roger's story is true, and he is telling the truth, that means the military killed that thing. And Jody, you're quoting standard operating procedure there, buddy. But we don't really know what was going on. Maybe they could have been doing some kind of government or military tests with these things during that time. You know, what often got me is how did Roger get so lucky as to get a ride so soon? You know, and just that guy just happened to be there and just happened to take him somewhere, and he just happened to be a guy that wouldn't call a normal state police. So, you know, maybe Roger can address that.
Well, and another thing, real quick, you know, from where that road is, okay, if he would have went down that road, he said he looked left and looked right and went out toward the road. Well, if he would have looked like the Welcome Center was right there.
Yeah, not in 1982. It wasn't. I don't believe it was, Jody. It would have been nothing but complete blackness if it wasn't there. But
no, because I called LBL and I asked them. They said it was built in 1981. That was there in 1981. Now, I did question that because I was there in 1987. Okay. And what was there did not look like a welcome center. It looked more like a blockhouse is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. But it didn't look, but it could have been a welcome center, because obviously that building that's there now is a brand new building.
Yeah,
it's a new building. But you have to understand, you know, that park was created in 1963. So there wasn't a whole lot of money that was going into that park all at once. It was coming in so much at a year. Okay, so it wasn't coming in.
The building that was there in 1981 might not have been lit up like the Welcome Center today.
Right. It would not.
There's a chance that's another little minor point that's easily overcome by, you know, I'm 15 years old. I didn't see any lights left, so I ran right. I mean, I can think back when I was 15 and all this stuff was happening to me,
right,
you know.
But it was still light out when it happened. Okay, that's the thing. Okay.
So, Roger, what do you have to say about that?
Well, as far as the welcome.
Hey, Roger, your sound is really bad. I'm gonna try and let Roger go, and then I'm gonna try and call you back. Roger, is that okay? Can you hear me, Roger?
Yeah, because I can barely hear any of you guys now.
Okay, let me call you right back, guys. I'm gonna drop him, and then we're gonna go and we're gonna call him back.
And thanks for having me on your show, Josh. I really appreciate it, buddy.
No problem, Bart. Anytime.
And thanks for all the compliments you guys have given me. You know, and I really appreciate everybody that's ever read any of my books or anything. And, you know, it just makes me feel good that people are enjoying them. And I really think Roger needs to, this is a great show. Roger needs to be able to respond and give us a rebuttal to all these questions so everybody can be satisfied, right? Jody, you know, Jody's like me. He's got 30 years invested in this, even though I don't really put myself in that category. I have been doing it for that long, but I have no dog in this race. But with all my years, if I've been wrong all these years, I want to know it.
Yeah.
And I don't discount Roger's story simply because it's different than what I've heard for all this time.
Well, let me call him right back, Barton. Hold that thought. Let me call him right back. Sorry about that, folks, but the sound wasn't so great, and I'm going to get Roger back on and see if we can.
Hello.
Hey, Roger, you there?
Yes, I am.
That sounds much better. All right, buddy. Let's get you back in the action here. We're going to merge the calls. All right. So Roger, your sound is much better. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, good. All right. So now Barton was talking, and you were saying about letting Roger go ahead and continue with that.
You're right. Yeah, he needs to have the chance to give us his replies to all these questions so everybody's satisfied. And like I say, I don't discount Roger's story simply because it's different than what I've been told for 30 years. You know, I've been told a lot of wrong things in the last 30 years. So I just want to know the truth, right? And if I've been believing the wrong things and going down the wrong alleys and avenues for 30 years, so be it. I would like to know that.
Do you want to reply to these questions that were thrown at you, Roger?
Sure. I'll try to remember real quick. I remember we left off at the at the welcome center issue. I did not see any welcome center. That doesn't mean there wasn't one there. I did not see it. And Johnny and Elijah actually were there a couple weeks ago and took a picture from the entrance, which really shook my bones. I haven't seen a picture of that for years and years, but they took a picture and you can't see it. You can see absolutely nothing. And because it's actually up over in a hill is how it was explained, and back in. And so there's no way, even if it was there, I could have ever seen it. And I did. So that I don't know. And the other question was what now, if you want to refresh my memory?
Well, to your credit, Roger, I've been there scores of times in the last few years and all hours of the night, and I've never seen it at night either. But I know that, it's all lit up down there, but it's not like you can see it from the lake, or I don't even remember seeing it from the road. And I turn right down there and I just say where it's at. It's in the Nickel Branch Cemetery. That's where I was told that it all happened.
I'm sorry. I got a kind of a back echo. I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
And Johnny had said, and I hope I'm not misquoting him, he either stopped in or he called there the last time they were there, and he talked to a lady that was actually there, and she said she did not believe it was built or was there in 1982. So Jody may be correct, and this lady might be a little off by a year, but she believed it was not, the building was not even there in 1982. But I can't answer that question and tell you the truth.
The guys from the Cryptid Institute said that building was not there. That's what I was told by Elijah and Johnny. So I don't know, and like me.
Well, the point is, even if it was there, it wouldn't have been lit up like it is in 2021, back in 1982, and it wouldn't have been visible at night. So that's just a little detail that's easily explained. So we need to move on to a bigger detail. It's the convenience. Convenience of the.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's bad.
So, do you think, Roger? I'll ask you this question. Do you think that the government had any kind of involvement in this? How would they show up so fast? I've listened to your other interview. I know a lot of these listeners out here now probably haven't, so I know what you said happened. So, how do you think the government responded so quickly?
Very, very good question, and I know that it wasn't a simple call to, and I don't even think they had 911 back then. I'm not for sure, but it wasn't a simple call to law enforcement to where, hey, there's this happened. You need to get somebody out here. I sat in the kitchen, and the man and the woman were around, and it might have been a bedroom or something. I can't remember what it was, but she'd look out every once in a while to see if I was okay and see what I was doing. But they were on the phone, and they had a lengthy conversation with whoever they called. And when I was picked up, it was not law enforcement that picked me up from the farmhouse. So
your phone's really breaking up again, Roger. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Can you hear me, Roger?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, when you talk, it's kind of like it's kind of, I don't know. Can you guys hear him, Jody?
No, it's breaking up for me too. No. I'm sure Jody's just like me, Josh. He just wants the truth, right? If I'm wrong, then I'll be the first to admit it. And all I know is what I've been told by other people who has experiences down there, because I've never had one myself. Mm-hmm. So I want the truth, and it doesn't really matter what it is to me. If it negates 30 years of research, okay. If I was wrong, then okay, so be it. I just want to know what really happened.
Well,
and like everybody said, you can't prove anything about this story. I just want to know if it really happened,
One of the things too, though, I mean, I see it, I don't know, maybe differently, but I don't really see it as like, if his story is true, like it negates everyone's research. I think it just brings more
right. Well, no,
pieces to the puzzle. And
it just means we've been told some wrong stories.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there can't be a girl in a tree and a dog man in the tree at the same time. So somebody's wrong. Somebody's either wrong or right. And I would like to know who it is. That's right.
Let me ask you this, Roger, and I hope you can respond, because I know that the audio on your phone's kind of messed up. But do you, in your mind, believe? Okay, because I believe that you believe this story. Now, that doesn't mean that, it's, the gospel truth, but I feel like you believe this story. So something happened, in my opinion. That's just my humble opinion. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I believe that you believe it, Roger. And I don't want to sound insulting or anything, but do you believe that it could have been something like an experiment or something? Do you believe it could have been anything like that? Like it was something sinister, more than it was just like something that happened, like it was just a territorial attack? Do you feel like it could have been something that was unleashed on you guys?
No, I don't believe that one bit.
Okay.
Nope. And I wish is my audio any better?
It's gotten better. Yeah, you fixed it.
Well, I can go back to reiterate real quick if you have the time, because I'd sure like to get my point across, especially about like law enforcement, if that's okay.
Reiterate away. Go ahead.
Okay. And what I was saying when they were asking, why, how they got there so quick or who it was, like I said, I can't answer that, but I know it wasn't a call to 911 or the local police, because the conversation was lengthy. So whoever they called, it was not local police or state police, and they had time to get there. They had to be close or within the area to get that many vehicles there that fast.
Right.
And like I said, there wasn't hundreds and hundreds of people there. And I even heard a story, and Jody had said, this is just what he'd heard, so I'm not bashing on him. He said he never heard of a dead dog man. Well, I think one of the stories, they said they hauled the dog man away on a huge flatbed. They killed him in a cave or something. So I don't know where that story come from, but I mean, there obviously was some story of a dead dog man within the time frame.
Well, let me ask you one more question, Roger, and I won't bother you anymore. When you got in the truck with that stranger and he picked you up and you told him what happened, how did he react? What was his reaction? Was he surprised?
No.
Was he frantic? Was he desperate to get help? Or did he act like he normal?
No, he just looked over at me, and I kind of slid down almost under the floorboard. And I do remember kind of the route that we took, but no, he didn't act like he was surprised. I mean, initially there was a little bit of eyebrow raising, but no, there wasn't any. He wasn't frantic, wasn't speeding, anything like that. Nothing.
So don't that strike you as a little bit odd?
Very, very odd. Very odd.
Okay. Yeah, we agree on that.
And another thing too, I want to say something about this. One of the things that strikes me about the story is the picture and the description, because I don't know a whole lot about the reports of the dog man in that area, except for a couple. And like I said, I regret this. And if you person are out there and you're listening to this, please resend me that story, because I apologize, and I'm man enough to admit when I'm wrong. And I tossed it out because it sounded incredible and kind of silly. Honestly, it did. It sounded like it's going to sound stupid when I say this, but it sounded like a pack of monkeys attacking somebody's truck out there at the LBL. And I'm like, what is this? And I even showed guys on my team, like, and they were like, they looked at it and we kind of laughed. And I had thrown it by, another major podcaster who I used to talk to all the time, and he looked at the story and was like, that's silly. That's, so I kind of, and now I'm looking back going like, when you drew the picture, or not you, Roger, but the picture that was put up on the Paranormal Round Table group page. And if anybody wants to go and take a look at that, it's in my group on Paranormal Round Table on Facebook. That picture, and I discussed this with Ryan Tremblay, the guy that I co-host on Whisper to a Scream. I was like, dude, what do you think? I mean, it's a devil monkey. I mean, I know sounds like a silly name, but when these people said, oh, we were attacked by a pack of dog man, and they looked like these skinny little rangy monkey looking things, and I'm going like, dude, get out of here. I mean, I just totally didn't buy it. It sounded silly and like kind of like somebody had made it up. And so I just kind of tossed it into the, one-off bin. And if I ever go back to it, I do. If I don't, I don't. But then I got another story that was not in that same area, but it was in the same state. you know, and it was from a cave where these people were partying not far from a small cave, and these things came out of it. So the one aspect of your story that I feel like is very plausible is just the description of it. Now think about this, Barton and Jody. I want to say something to you two, and hear me out here, okay? And you know, and you can tell me if you think I'm crazy, okay? But if he was making up a story, okay, and this is the only thing I'm going to say about that is this, you know, if he's making it up, wouldn't he make up a giant dog man dripping fangs with a giant big, you know, whatever, and make it was this evil King Kong looking beast that did this instead of some skinny, rangy looking monkey creature? I mean, think
right.
about it.
I mean, I would if it only makes sense to me. Of course, I don't know how liars work, and I'm just, you know, how it's beyond me why anybody would come forward in the public and say something like this and it'd be a lie. I mean, you just get ridiculed. I mean, it takes away from your life. It doesn't improve your life.
They're just going to bring heat.
Everybody says, "Oh, he's getting it for the money." What money? There's no money in this field.
All of us
Jody
know
will tell you.
Jody knows. Me and Jody were talking
Anybody
about
that's
no money in this
anybody
field,
that's been in right, Josh. Anybody that's been in this field for 6 months knows that there's no money to be made here. Really. So
not, no.
why would you come out and say something like that? I just don't understand how people would do that or why. So I'm thinking that there's no reason that Roger would do this.
I mean,
unless he's, you know,
maybe you want fame or whatever, but now, Roger, you live on a farm in Iowa.
Yes,
okay. And one day you wake up and you go, you know what? I just want to become famous, so I'm going to make up a story about some rangy looking monkey dog people. And that part is hard for me to grasp. Like, I cannot really grasp that. Now, I'm not doubting what Jody is doing. And Jody, I applaud you. You're my friend. You know that. And I back you up because you're trying to get to the truth. You want to know, I mean, is this real? Is this legit? I mean, and you have punched some holes into what would be a believable story to the untrained, you know, to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. And so, and Roger, we're not coming at you like, hey, we're all trying to attack you. You know, that's not the case. We just want to know the truth. And the only way to get to the truth is to ask the hard questions. And I applaud you, Roger, for coming on here and being willing to answer those hard questions.
So do I. Yeah, so do I.
You wouldn't be doing your job if you weren't, you know, doing exactly what you're doing. And I have a question, if I may address Jody.
Yeah.
Did you do a story? I guess it was an interview. You did one also of I guess it was a retired park ranger that actually witnessed the murder of two people or one person. And I want to know
individuals. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that was at the LBL.
Yes.
Now, was this, and this isn't, please don't take this the wrong way, it's a legitimate question. Now, was this gentleman, you know, interrogated for, you know, as far as being a witness to a murder?
No, when we interviewed him, let me go on here. When we interviewed him, okay, we went to his house. He verified through LES forms, which are pay stubs, taxes, return taxes, citations, retirement ID card, who he is and who he worked for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, when he saw the incident happen, I asked him in the interview, why did you not tell anybody what you saw? Why didn't you not go to the authorities? Why didn't you go to your supervisor? Okay, and his exact comment was he would have either lost his job or they could have screwed with his life or something to that effect. Okay. He never said, well, they would never believe me, because they all knew that there was something there. They all knew they were not allowed to talk about it. They knew that if anybody ever came forward and said, hey, I saw this, that their job would be gone. Okay. That was the whole thing, why he never reported it. And he even stated the reason why he came forward with the story was that he had stage 4 cancer, and he wanted the story to get out because he felt that he is not going to go to heaven. And I was Joe Walsh. No, I'm not losing the debate. It's not a debate.
Yeah, there's no
You know,
debate here.
These people are just they're. See, all these people are making these comments. Obviously,
Yeah, like Jody. It says Jody don't believe him because that will mess up his whole work. Jody, first of all, Jody's doing like all kinds of different projects. She's written all kinds. I mean, this guy doesn't. He's not a one-trick pony. It's not like, oh, the LBL's gone, I'm gonna go commit suicide, dude. That's not what's gonna happen here.
No, I've been paid good money by networks to do research for television shows. Okay. These people who are talking like losing the debate and things like that, these are people who know nothing about LBL. These are what you call, chair researchers. These people have never been out there. They get the research from people like you and YouTube. Okay, they don't go out to the field to get dirty. So they can go ahead and say what you want, Joe. Yeah, you're full of it too, buddy. But the point of what I'm saying is that, he felt he wasn't going to go to heaven because he saw something that he was a sin because he never said anything about it. Because here you had two families that knew nothing about what happened to the loved one. And that's why he came forward with the story. That's why he came to us and talked to us about it. Okay. And he was willing to go on camera doing a deathbed confession.
How long after the incident did he finally come forward?
20 years.
Okay.
Joe Walsh, I'm going to ask you one more time to stop with the comments. Joe Walsh, okay, stop with the comments or you're going to be removed. Stop Jody saying things. If you have an opinion and it's negative about anybody on the show, you can voice it in a different way. There's a way to talk and there's a way to not. Let's not do that. We're not going to play games here on my show. Okay, dude, just knock it off. All right, Joe, just quit doing that. It says here, Jody wants to get to the truth out there. And that's what we all deserve. We need to demand the government quit the lies. I don't know about the government and all that. But anyways, I just want everybody to keep it clean and stop making snarky comments.
Let me go back to what Glenn said. Okay. Now Glenn told a story. Okay. I had no way of verifying that story. Okay. There's nothing to verify it. Okay. Nothing at all. All I had was an individual that claims this is what he saw. He was very truthful about what his job was, who he worked for. He showed verification of it. Okay. But I cannot verify his story. Do I believe a story? Yeah. I think, the guy was very passionate about what he was saying and what he saw. I mean, he drew us a map to where the exact location was. Okay. But I can't verify the story. And that's it's the same thing with Roger. No one can verify his story. It doesn't mean that, it did or did not happen. It's just, it can't be verified. Okay. There's nothing about LBL. There's really nothing about any story that can be verified because there's absolutely no paper trail when it comes to any of this stuff. Okay. But the point, how can I say this?
I agree with that 100%. I agree with
okay.
100% because with the evidence that was there on site in the motorhome, in the car, nobody mentions the car, the tow behind that was there as well. There was no way, if there was just simple, the running of tags and so forth, that they wouldn't have known who these people were and how they and why they just decided to vanish from the face of the earth. That's what I want to know. That's why I'm doing this.
Well, the problem
that happened, and somebody higher up knows what happened, and they don't want it to get out because there was too much evidence there to not know who these people were. I do.
But that's the whole point. You say you know them, okay, but we can't verify that these people even existed. Okay, I mean, if we can find records of an Amish family, okay, in LaGrange, Indiana, that sold their property and left or was thrown out of the community, whatever, in 1982, okay, then we got something to go on, okay, and say, okay, yeah, that's fine. We here's a family. But there's nothing, you can't find anything, okay? Because one thing about the Amish, okay, is that they're not open people to talk to anybody. You'll get one or two people that you can sit there and talk about, that will sit there and tell you a little bit of things. But trying to go into a community, it's just not going to happen. James, you're kind of full of it too, so don't worry about it, bro. But the thing of it is, okay, none of it can be verified. Okay, nothing can be verified. And here's the thing. Let me tell you this. When Roger's story came out, okay, the authorities came to me about his story. Okay, I had to turn over, with a court order, I had to turn over the copy of the interview, the paper that he signed for the release for the interview, and I had to turn over the SD card that the interview was on. Okay, so they came to me about that. Okay, for whatever purpose they did it, they never said. It's just they wanted the information. Okay, there was a court order for me to turn it over. I turned it over. Okay, but the point of it is, if you were a witness to something, Roger, okay, why would they want you living? Why would they want you breathing? Okay, that's the thing that I don't understand. If this was a cover-up, why didn't they take you and groom you? Okay, because you had an uncle, I believe you said. So I don't know if your uncle raised you or not. You never said that part, but you said you had an uncle. Okay, so if you didn't have any family per se, why didn't they take you and groom you into one of them? Okay, why didn't they, harass you throughout the years, made your life miserable? Okay, I mean, you never mentioned any of that stuff. Okay, and I mean, you would think so. I mean, because like I said, if they came after me over something little as an interview, okay, why wouldn't I came after you for telling that a cover up by the government, and the bodies may be buried on a government land? Okay, that's the thing that I'm saying. I'm like I said, I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm not saying you're looking for money or anything, because I don't believe you're gaining anything from this, because you're not going to gain. No one has gained anything from this. Okay, but the point of what I'm saying is, why did they come to you and threaten your life? They keep quiet because you were the only witness. I'm not saying things are supposed to act like how they do in Hollywood movies, where they would have took you off and put you in a facility and taught you, how to kill somebody with a toothpick and all that other stuff. But the point of what I'm saying is, I know you were only 15 years old at the time. Okay, but my God, 15 years old, right from wrong. I just don't understand that. And that's my biggest problem. Why would they have not threatened you? Maybe they did. I don't know. You never mentioned it.
I plainly said they were very nice, and I was never threatened or treated bad once from Walt or the other person. I was never threatened by any of them. And a good point. I can't answer that, because I don't have an answer. I'm not in their minds. I have no idea why they wouldn't do exactly what you said, but they didn't, and they haven't.
And,
Yeah, but I mean, I don't mean to cut you off there, Josh. But I'm going to tell you, I've been screwed with. Okay, literally screwed with over the LBL stuff. I mean, I've had things done to me that by forces, whomever or whatever, okay, over the LBL documentary that we did. I mean, I've had the state of Ohio remove mine and my wife's motor vehicle registration, delete it. Literally delete both vehicles. Okay. And I had to fight to get it back to prove that these cars were ours and that we owned the cars and they're still being paid for, through a bank and stuff. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. My car was stolen. Okay. And the police officer who responded to that stated that he saw my vehicle with people from the DNR. Okay, the morning that it was taken. But I mean, is it all coincidence? Yeah, it could all be coincidence. But the point of it is, I went through hell. I've had people come to my house, okay, and tell me that I need to stop what I'm doing. Okay, and that's why I'm saying, I can't believe that nothing has happened to you. Nothing has happened. That's
Jody. I want to kind of back up something that what Jody's talking about, and Barton, I don't know if you know about this, but there was a picture that we all had that disappeared off of our computers. Okay. And, so, I mean, I can tell you right now that happens, and not too long ago, I've been threatened by somebody they claimed to be from my hometown and that I needed to stop talking about some things that happened back in the 60s in some railroad cars. And they were like, you need to stop talking about that. Don't be bringing, I don't know who these people are, but they claim to be, law enforcement, and they were saying, and people claim anything they want. But I think Jody is asking a hard question there, Roger. In this field, guys like me, Barton, Jody, all of us, researchers, podcasters, authors, you're going to get asked questions by people. Weird stuff's going to happen. When you were 15 years old and that happened to you, from the time you were 15, how old are you now, Roger?
Do I have to say?
Well, you don't have to say it, but I mean,
54.
54. Okay, so you're 54 years old. Now, not one time does anybody ever said, hey, kid, you need to be quiet about this. Keep your mouth shut. They never told you not to say anything about it, or they never gave you any kind of debriefed you?
The only thing that was ever said to me, and I've been saying this ever since the beginning, and you can look back on Cryptid Institute's interview, was when Walt simply said, he said, just, it's best that you forget about this as soon as you can and get on with life. But that's it. I have never, ever been threatened or people following me. I mean, maybe they are following me. I just don't know. I'm too busy to, look over my shoulder. And after what happened to me, I'm really not afraid of anything, to be quite honest, anymore. It's not boasting. If something happens, it's going to happen. But I've never felt that way. I've never felt like I've been watched or anything like that. Just at the time that this happened, Walt kept me close, very, very close. It was almost like he was watching out for somebody or something. And, and at that particular time, it didn't mean anything to me. But now that this is happening, I'm getting more into it. Maybe it meant something, but he was almost like acting like I was his kid. He was, kept his arm on my shoulder, kept me close by, stay here, come with me, stay right by me, that type of thing the whole time.
Barton, what do you think of all that?
Well, it's quite bizarre, actually. But so, Roger, you do know the last name of the people that allegedly were killed, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, Jody's complaining about not being able to do any research. Have you let anyone know say, a researcher of your choosing. Have you told the last name to them so they could
Yes, I
try
have.
to research this? You have?
Well, I wouldn't say that they're researchers per se, but yes, I have. And then they did do some digging.
Did anything come of that
Yes, it
that they
did.
shared with you? Nothing you can share with us tonight?
Well, no, I don't want to right at this point, and this is and I don't mean this to put gas on the fire or anything. It's just I'm just stating something that was said. Jody had said that he'd went into LaGrange and looked or contacted the people or looked for the people with the last name that was mentioned. I have never mentioned their last name ever. So,
Jody, do you know the last name of the people?
No, well, yes and no. It was the last name that we heard from someone. What was the last name? We found in LaGrange, let's see, let me go back to my notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 11 different last names.
Okay.
For
so you
the
do
Amish.
not know the name of the
No,
family.
what we did, there was a private investigator that took the names of the family and with the names of the 11 different Amish families who were believed were in that area and try to get the names coincide with the last names on registration for vehicles, registration for whatever they can find that they might have applied for, any type of anything within the community. Okay. But what the investigator found out was that there was no family in LaGrange with any of the known last names of the Amish in the area with the names. But there again, Levi was a very common name with the Amish. So therefore, with that being said, nothing was found because with the names that we had. That if the names of the family members are correct or not covered up to protect the real names, then we only went by with what the names were that were coming out with, that was on the show. So
Okay,
therefore,
so you got 11 names
nothing
to
was
choose
found.
Okay, hold on a second, guys. Now, Jody, you just said you took the last name of the family and took it to LaGrange. Now, we just clarified that you didn't know the net last name. So how's that possible?
No, I don't know what the last name is. What I said was that we used the 11 known last names of the Amish in LaGrange.
No, your exact words was of the family. You took the last name of the family into LaGrange. That was your. Play it back, Josh.
Well,
no, I just said it right here. We took the last names that could be with the family because we only had 11 different names of last names of the Amish that were in LaGrange. Okay, and the one name that we had that was given to us, okay, was not on the list. So that's why we went with the names that were on the list.
That's
what I said.
I mean, I'm about as bright as a burned out light bulb, and that confuses me.
Okay, let me put it so where you can understand. Okay, we were given the last name. Okay, so the last name that we were given with the family, nothing came up. Okay, so we went with we had 11 different last names of the Amish in that area, of Amish families. Okay, this is what the investigator found out, that these were the different names of the families that were in the area. Okay, so he took the last name that was on the list, the 11 last names, and took the first names of the family and tried to do a check on that. and nothing came up.
But I don't understand, Jody. What were you looking for? If you don't know what I mean,
Well,
A search
what
like
they-
that
what they-
can never be.
No,
that's
No,
Search
completely
like that can never be 100% accurate or complete if you only have an incomplete list of names. But
but
other
the thing
people know the name, right, John? Right, Roger. Other
That's
people
why
are
I
working
asked
on that
Jody.
angle.
All right, guys, one at a time. Hey, guys, hey, one at a time. Everybody talk one at a time. Now, let's, Barton, you go ahead and say what you were going to say, and then we'll get
Sorry
back on
about
track
that.
here.
Okay, I just want to confirm with Roger that he does have the last name. He has shared the last name with someone, and someone is working on that right now.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. And they have found
So
some
you're-
things out. That's correct.
You're not trying to hide the last name. That's what the point I'm trying to make is you're not going, through a bunch of trouble to hide the last name. You've already released it, correct?
Well, I didn't release it to the general public, obviously, but I did. I have released it to certain individuals. Absolutely, that is correct.
All right. Thanks for answering that.
You betcha.
So, Jody, now from what you've asked so far and what has been said, do you feel like you've gotten some substance here, or do you still feel like this is just absolute, just crackpot nonsense? I mean, let's just be honest.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying that he's a crackpot and his story's crackpot. I think it's incorrect. I don't think there again. Like I said, I will not call him a liar. I will not say he's a liar. But what I'm saying is, I have to go by the research that I've done for 30 years. I have to go by the research that has been done by other researchers on this particular subject for 20, 30 years. Okay. If anything he is saying is true, if I just heard one piece of something he said and what I heard in the last 30 years, I would probably consider, well, maybe there's a possibility that, this incident did happen. Okay. I would do that. But the point of it is I have to go by what I did research on because, like I said, it's a complete 360 of what everybody knows about LBL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's just it, though. No one really knows anything.
Exactly. Nothing can be verified about LBL. It's all word of mouth. And human testimony doesn't mean, a whole lot.
Right. I'll be the first to admit, Joey, that I don't know one fact about the beast of LBL. Actually, know for truth one fact as long as I've been doing this.
Right. I mean, me personally, I've never found any physical evidence of the beast of LBL. Okay. Of something being there. I've never found one piece of physical evidence. No tracks I found. Nothing other than word of mouth from somebody that can't be verified. Okay. And that's the thing about Roger's story is that it can't be verified.
That's
no more than
everyone's story.
Right. Like Glenn's story. Okay. None of it can be verified. We can only go by what they're saying. But, for people that's out there say, I believe Roger and, Jody's full of crap. Okay. That's just lunacy for someone. Okay. Because they're already making their mind up about something that they know nothing about.
Yeah.
Okay.
People are good at that.
What's that?
People are really good at that, Jody. In case you didn't know that.
Knee jerk jumping to conclusions. I want to say something to you guys, everybody right now listening at home. I personally know everything about this. I already know everything that happened. All right. I'm keeping my cards close to my chest so I can write a major book about it later. That's all. I'm just gonna let y'all go ahead and keep talking.
Yeah, just don't write it for the money, John.
I'm just kidding, guys. You know that.
But the thing of it is, how can I say this? I'm very passionate about my research.
You think?
Okay, you know that. Okay, all right. So I do get offensive. Okay, because I believe in facts and I believe in evidence. Okay, but with that being said, LBL, there's really no facts and there's really no evidence, of that case. But, being a former deputy sheriff, when you talk to other law enforcement officers, I mean, there's a bond there between law enforcement and the fact, why would these guys, lie to me? I mean, is there some big conspiracy theory out there that, there's people feeding the same story in order for disinformation? For all we know, Roger could be putting out disinformation. He could be someone from LBL putting disinformation out, but we don't know that, okay? Because there again, we can't prove it. But it all goes back to this, I don't dislike the guy. I don't hate the guy. I don't think the guy's, an idiot or anything like that. It's just I don't believe his story. I mean, Christ, we could go out and have a beer together, and and I still wouldn't believe his story. You understand what I'm saying? And he doesn't he doesn't have to, believe me. Okay, but I have to go by with what I believe in. Okay, what I've researched. Okay, and Barton is a witness to this. When I first heard the story, I believed it. I thought, man, this is cool. This is absolutely cool. And then I thought, well, maybe it was a completely different incident that happened from the original massacre, because the story's different. Okay, and we have to understand that too. Maybe this is a completely different incident.
That's possible too. But another thing, Jody, if Roger, okay, and in my opinion, if he was completely lying, it seems like it'd be more sensational. Like, I mean, wouldn't you say, yeah, I was threatened and that's why I never came forward? Because that would be the easy fix to that. That's
not necessarily okay. And like there again, Roger, don't take this wrong. Okay, I'm using this as a hypothetical situation. Okay, sure. He could sit there and research this for months. He could have wrote the story out 500 times on the way, that he to make sure it sounds what it sounds like today. Okay, that if you want to put a story out, that's the way you would do it. Okay, that's the way if you were wanting to do it that way. Okay, but on the other hand, when you talk to people when an incident happened and they tell the story, okay, the fact of it is, another thing that kind of got me about Roger's story is that he's too calm. He's way too calm about the story. Okay, and that was one of the biggest false flags that I had on the story, because he's just too calm. And even right now, he's too calm talking about it. People are like, oh, I believe Roger. Jody, you're a nut. Okay.
Hey, Jody, don't worry about the comments. Just
No.
People don't. Nothing you say can change someone's mind. So let them think what they want.
Dude, I can care less what people think.
Exactly.
Okay. But the point of what I'm saying here is, his story is just too calm. It just flows. It flows like a nice river. Okay. No riffles in there. And that doesn't make sense to me. Okay. That was as a former law enforcement officer, that is the thing that got me, because, here's somebody that is telling the story, and he's telling it way too good. He's telling it too soft. He's telling it too direct. And people are sitting there, with their hand, on their, fist, just listen like, oh my God, oh my God, oh
yeah,
my God.
I was eating popcorn.
Yeah, eating pop. I mean,
Make popcorn.
right, and that is the first tell sign that the story's not legit.
Because I'm calm.
Because what?
Because I'm calm. I understand what you're saying. That was just kind of a joke, but
No, and I know that. I know you meant that as a joke, okay?
Yeah,
and I understand that. But that's it's this whole thing is, don't BS a BS artist, okay? And it comes down to
what? You're not saying you're a BS.
Are you?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you saying that you're BSing us, Jody? Come on now.
No. It's the phrase "don't BS a BS artist." Okay, it's a phrase. I mean, my God, you guys are old enough that you've heard that. Okay.
Well, yeah, but yeah,
but
you wouldn't be talking about yourself though, Jody, because that
no. It's a phrase saying, I can put out this. I can put it out as much as you're putting it out. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, but that's just, like I said, that's me. Anybody else, however they look at it. Okay, but like I said, I don't look at the guy as a fraud. I just don't believe his story. Okay,
and that's your right. I mean, that's absolutely
right,
your right. Anybody can. I mean,
right, but it doesn't. Because like I said, what's he got to gain out of this? He's not going to get no money. Okay, he's not going to. Sure, the guy's not going to get fame because look at me. I've been doing this for 30 years. Okay, and
well, Jody, part of why though you haven't made money is because you made bad decisions with like that werewolf mask. That was a very bad decision.
Oh my God! Yeah,
it's a too cockeyed.
Yeah.
So you got to make better decisions. That's first of all.
I make bad decisions. But the point what I'm trying to put across is that I just can't buy the story, and it doesn't mean any disrespect for Roger. Okay, it's just I have to go by what I've done for 30 years. That's what it comes down to.
I get that. Let me say something to you, Roger, and I'm going to pose this to you, and I'm going to be completely honest, okay? I will put my money right here. I'll put it right here. How about I fly you down to Texas on my dime, and I give you a lie detector test? Would you do that?
Or would he take one where he lives?
Or take one where you live? I'll pay for it.
It'd have to be after planning, but the only thing I have against lie detector tests,
they're not 100% accurate. No, I mean,
well, they're not even close, and they're not even close, and not submissible in court. And I kind of got into it with a gentleman over on Cricket Institutes on their comments, and like I said, I respect Jody for what he's done for our service. He's kept us safe, and he's also a deputy sheriff. And I know I have a brother who's in law enforcement. I have a cousin that's actually with the deputies, is a deputy marshal out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I have family that's in the military serving right now. I just back to the lie detector thing. I just don't trust them. I just don't, and I'm not trying to escape out of it or anything like that. I don't want this to turn into a Murray show or whatever the heck.
And I'm not trying to. I'm just saying, the offer's there for anybody, because I'm like Barton. I would like to look you in the eye. And
sure,
I would rather do that.
Yeah.
I'm the old school. I'm shake a man's hand, look him in the eye.
Absolutely.
And
I'll tell you what, Roger. I'll say one more thing to you. I know it's an incredible show. It's really the first podcast I've listened to in years and certainly been a part of. But I'll be down in LBL very soon. And if your story is true, I got an 8-pound cast iron sword that I call Nightmare. If everything works out, I will put that sword right through one of those dog men for Levi and for Connie and their parents and anyone else that it might have killed. I will promise you that I will try my best to put an end to that very soon.
That would be amazing.
Well, Barton, I've already killed those beasts and ate them, so sorry, I beat you to it. But I appreciate that offer, though.
Yeah, so if they're natural animals, and it's my sword is nothing like the bird shot. They won't be recovering from that if I get one good swing. And if they're not natural animals, then they'll kill me. So
Yeah, I'd like to
at
go
least
back.
you'll have that to watch, and you'll know. If it walks through my sword, I know that it's a supernatural creature, not a normal animal.
Can I ask you a question, guys, while I have you on the air? Jody and Barton in particular, and Roger, you can even chime in if you want. Let me ask you this, okay? Do you feel like these creatures that we're dealing with are more flesh and blood than they are supernatural, or do you think that they are that because there's so many cases of people shooting at them and then they're not hurting them?
Absolutely not. I don't feel that way at all. I feel they're more demonic in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Demonic manifestations, it's not something that's a new concept. It's been talked about for 2,000 years, how they can take on bodies of flesh for however long they want, actually functional bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe personally, and it's me, and I'm going to test this theory out soon down at LBL. I believe that they're just another manifestation from the same diabolical source.
And what do you think, Jody?
What about the beast?
Yeah, these creatures. I mean, just not necessarily the Rogers, but just in general. I mean, all your research tells you. What does it tell you? Your gut. What do you think?
I think it's flesh and blood. But like I said, when it comes to LBL, like I said, I go by stories, or what I'm hearing from other people. Like I said, I found no physical evidence of anything being down there. There's a lot of history of it being down there. Excuse me, but I want to see it. I want to see it for myself. I want to see something, proving that this animal exists. Okay. In general, do I believe Dogman is real? Yeah, I believe that they exist, but I want to know about them at LBL. I want to see something. I want to see physical evidence that these things exist. I don't believe in killing it.
I do.
Okay.
Barton's like, I do.
I mean, that might be bad to say, but I got a personal grudge against these creatures.
Well,
I can sit here and tell you about times that they choked our pony with its tethering rope to death, or killed all our animals and scooped out their guts and stuff, And there, I won't break down and cry, but it'll be the truth. But you're right. I want to find out. And if one of these things will take a blow from my sword, then I'll know for sure. And so will everybody else. So I'll find out for us, hopefully.
Yeah. But hell, I'll kill it if it comes at, tries to come after me or something. I'm not stupid, but I just don't want to go out and kill it just to prove it exists.
Yeah, not to prove that it exists if it's a flesh and blood creature, but obviously,
Yeah. We all want to know, but if it has taken human life, take it down. Okay. I agree with that. Okay. Take it down if it's taken human life.
Bullets won't do it, so I'm using something a little more archaic.
And if folks at home listening, it may have sounded kind of silly what Barton was saying about putting a sword through it, but I believe that would be a lot more effective than bullets, because I've talked to so many people who've tried shooting and it just doesn't work. Skinwalker Ranch comes to mind when the giant wolf creature comes up and they just shot it and nothing happened to it. It was like there was no blood. It was nothing. It was like it wasn't even a real thing.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, when you look at the stories that I've told about this particular ranch. There's some people we work with, and the bullets don't do anything. I mean, it's just like they're just it'll run them off maybe or whatever, but it doesn't seem to affect them. I mean, and so when that happens, we're dealing with something that's not completely on a physical level, the physiological level that we understand. And that's what I want to ask you, Roger. Your story about these creatures, do you believe that they were just regular old flesh and blood animals running around out there? Or do you think that they had something evil to them, demonic, extraterrestrial, anything unusual about it?
What I had seen bled and it died. It's flesh and blood. Were they evil? Absolutely. Their intent was definitely evil. I don't believe that they were demonic or conjured up, and that's no disrespect to anybody that thinks that. I totally respect everybody's opinions. I really do, but I did not see that. I seen flesh and blood. And just to back up for a second, I think Bart had said I had shot it twice with the 410. I only shot it once with the 410, and
Right.
shot it once with the 20 gauge.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
And
20 gauge is another small
It is.
shotgun, so small gauge as well.
But if you know a little bit about ballistics, I mean, even as well, I guess I don't want to get into that, but I mean, a coroner would be able to tell if there's any because a 410 keeps its grouping super tight. And a 20, even a 12, 28 gauge, 16 gauge, anything of that nature, they'll spread out more even at the same distance. So a 410 leaves even with the bird shot will leave a pretty direct close pattern at 15 feet.
Right.
All of them will. Shotgun, a 12 gauge will too.
Yeah, it's super close range. Yeah, 12 gauge will too. You're exactly right.
And Roger, would you ever go back to the LBL? And
I am planning on going back. Yes, I am.
Okay. And so maybe at some point, you guys can head out there, and things work out. Maybe you can go together.
Maybe me and Roger will meet up there. You never can tell. But I will be going very soon, and there'll only be a few of us that I know of. So I can meet you, Roger, and you can tell me your story.
I would
100%.
be with you or Jody both. I would be more than happy to sit down right across from either one of you and chat. And the only thing I had wanted is the same respect from Jody that he give these other fellow police officers or brother police officers. They're basically just giving him stories as well. And that's kind of what he's saying I'm doing. But it's we're all in the same boat. They're just giving stories with no proof, and I understand. I'm willing to take that kick in the butt, but I just want the same respect that they're doing the same thing I'm doing. It's just telling a story, and I just want that same respect. That's all.
Right, that's not too much to ask.
No, it's not, and that's why I brought you on and allowed you to tell your side of things. And like I said, I brought Jody on first, and it didn't mean that I didn't trust you or anything like that. But I know Jody and know him very well, and so I brought him on. And like I said, one thing led to another, and this ended up being like a trilogy or whatever, But
It was great. It was great to be included in this.
Well, Barton, I mean, I've talked to you multiple times. I mean, as on Facebook and Messenger, and we've messaged back and forth, and we've talked on the phone.
Right.
And at some point,
really, Josh, I just want to say, in reality, I'm not a bloodthirsty, violent guy. Right? These creatures, you have to understand. I have a long history with them, so I don't like them. And
and we're gonna get you on the show at some point, and we're gonna do for the Friday episodes, and we pre-record those, and we're gonna have you come on, and I want you to tell your story and talk about some of the things that you know. Same goes for you, Jody. We got to get you on because you have some really great information, and we've talked off, air, and so I think that it would be not only entertaining but informative too. I mean, to bring you guys on, and we'll chop it up and talk about this stuff and. In the future. And so folks, stay tuned because You haven't heard the last of these guys. I can tell you that. I respect you guys, and that's why I brought you on, Barton, to kind of to help mediate and talk. And of course, Jody, I respect you, and I respect your group. And Roger, I respect you, and I'm glad that you came on and told your truth. And I don't feel like it's any different than what Dogman Encounters does, or any of them other shows, and brings people on and lets them say their piece. I just, it is what it is. Half of the people on some of these shows, I mean, are they telling the truth? How do we know? I mean, they can come on there and say any kind of wild BS, and half the people are going to believe it and half the people are going to doubt it. And that's just how it goes. And Roger, regardless of whether, it's 100% accurate or whatever, you believe it's true. And it did take a lot of guts to come out and say this. That's impressive in and of itself. And I say that, though, from a very pragmatic standpoint. Even if you were like some lunatic sociopath, you still had a lot of guts to come out and say it and say all this stuff and go up against guys that have been researching it for years, like Jody has.
It's not going up against them. It's just minds coming together.
Well, it did end up kind of being there at one point. You know what I mean? It did. You guys were kind of butting heads, and I'm glad that you guys were able to come on the show and talk like the adults that we are, and the intelligent people that we are. You're obviously not stupid, Roger. You didn't give yourself any credit. You were talking about, I don't think you're stupid at all. But I think you're a nice guy. And I think that Jody doesn't hate you. I don't feel like he has any like he's not angry anymore anyway. It was kind of like getting heated for a while there, but I think that he just doesn't want to see 30 years of research. He wants to know the truth, and like everything he's heard up to this point has not included this part of the puzzle. So, when you're given something that could potentially just throw a wrench into your entire beliefs and everything you've been told for 30 years, it's going to change. You have to adjust one way or the other. And I think that Jody's doing his due diligence, and I hope that you understand that, that he's
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned that, he basically his car identification or whatever is completely erased, and that kind of drives the nail home. I mean, that could have very well happened with his family. If these vehicles, I mean, just everything is just how everything just evaporated is beyond me.
Yeah. Yeah, and eventually I will, I want to also get the guys on from Cryptid Study Institute. And folks, they have some really good material too, by the way. And go and check them out. Give them some love. I was watching some of their stuff, and I love Elijah's voice. He's just like, and he's talking about the Appalachian people. And one thing I want to point out about that area, those people do live in abject poverty. And at the end of one of the videos, I believe it was the one about Harlan, Kentucky. They talked about a place where you can donate to help the people of Appalachia, and I feel strongly because I used to donate. Well, I still do. The Christian Appalachian Project is one of my charities. That and the Covenant House, and that's for runaway teens. But I feel very strongly about that, helping those people. They are literally some of the most impoverished people in North America. I mean, and so if you feel so kind as to go to the Cryptid Studies Institute, watch her video and donate, they do have a place where you can donate to. And I would suggest that. And if not, then Christian Appalachian Project does actually, they build houses and they help the people of the Appalachian Mountains. So they are very poor. And that's something that I, feel strongly about. And as a Christian, I do, and, would like to help any way I could. So if you could donate, that would be great. And if you can't, well, I understand.
That'd be great.
But, so guys, I guess that we're going to wrap it up and put a bow on it here, guys. Roger, I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Regardless of what plays out from this point on, you came and you told what you believe are your truths. And Jody, I appreciate you coming on and being a good sport. I know there were some people that were running their mouths and saying things, and you can't let it get to you, Jody. I get called names like every day. I'm like,
oh no. It wasn't getting to me. It just goes to show how ridiculous they are.
Yeah.
That they know zero to nothing about the subject, and it's like the first time they've ever heard something that they can grasp onto, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because there's so much, they believe so much into conspiracy theories, cover-ups, government, all this other government crap, and that's all they believe. A guy comes forward, he tells a story that no one has ever heard before. They heard bits and pieces of LBL, and they believe it. I mean, they believe it. It's like it's like I guess the people that believe Joe Biden won the election.
Let's not go into politics here, because I don't want to get. Let's not. Let's not get there.
Another 3 hours.
That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to say. These are the type of people that's leaving these comments. I'm doing my job. Okay, I can care less if they believe me. I can care less if they like me or not. I can care less what they think of me, because you know what? I'm not here to service them. I owe them nothing. They owe me nothing. Okay. So, when in the end, either Roger's going to be right or Roger's going to be wrong, or I'm going to be right or I'm going to be wrong. Okay. And that's it. That's it. Okay. So like I said, I can truly care less.
I mean, every day I get called names like fat and stupid and you're an idiot and you're lazy. I'm like, Mom, come on, chill, But, I'm just kidding. My mom never calls me things like that. Not anymore. But no, I'm just joking. I have a good mother. Unfortunately, she's in the hospital. Everybody send prayers if you can. That'd be great. And I do appreciate everybody coming on. Barton, anytime, buddy. You're a good guy. And folks, if you can get a copy of this man's book, Inhumanoids. Now, Barton, you did say you had to go to like Europe or something to get it published, like Britain. Or something.
It was too controversial for any U.S. publisher to accept the book. So,
and you said some of the early.
My good buddy Nick Redfern, I sent him the manuscript, and he said, "Well, let me send it to my publisher in Great Britain." I'm like, "Really?" So, but he did it, and a guy named Jonathan Downs, he wrote me immediately and said that's such a great book. We want to publish it. I said, because everyone else told me I had to change the ending, right?
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't do. And there was no and. I said, so can I keep the ending like it is, right? He goes, well, yeah, we want to change a word. So,
then? There is no and then. I tell you, Nick is a great guy. Nick, I was BSing with him we had a freeze down here, guys, in Texas, and I know up in Iowa and where you guys live, it's probably y'all used to the cold, but down here, it was like -2 degrees, and it was like a whole week of it, and so I was BSing with Nick, we were talking, and he's a fun guy to talk to. And whenever I go to him, and sometimes I'll go to Gerhard or Lyle Blackburn, whatever, and I'll talk to those guys, and I'll ask them their opinions.
Great guys.
Yeah, they're a really good bunch of guys, and I'll ask them about their opinions on the different cryptids, and I'll get stories, and sometimes I'll send them to them, and be like, what do you think of that? Does that sound legit? But now I know when I get some stories from the LBL, not to just toss them out and go, I don't believe that. That's ridiculous, because I'm feel bad that I did that to someone's story. Because next time I'm going to hand it over to you and Jody, and you tell me what you think, And
if it comes from Kentucky, Josh, don't discount it.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize that the Mammoth Cave systems. I mean, it's not a coincidence to me that Tennessee and Kentucky have all this activity, and you're sitting on top of these giant cave systems. I got a story out of Carlsbad not too long ago. Somebody who had gone to Carlsbad Caverns. I've been there several times. It's a pretty cool place, but they claim that it's not what it seems. That there's a lot of sinister stuff, and yeah, I mean, the cave thing, just, in the inner earth, we've all talked about this. And at some point, I think we're going to break into that and start talking about it. And Barton, I hope to get you on, and we can talk about that, and we can get deep into it. And Jody, you definitely, we can get into the whole, aspects of what you believe is going on, and we can talk about that too. And I appreciate you guys coming on and talking. We've been talking. And Roger, I hope you feel like you got a fair shake here.
I do. I really do.
Yeah, I didn't want you to come on and feel ambushed, and feel like we were, because we weren't trying to do that. We just wanted to ask some hard questions, and I believe you did the best you could in answering them. I have no reason to not believe you. If I find out you were lying, though, I will crush your head like a grape. I'm just kidding with you. Don't take that as a threat, Roger. I'm playing with you, bro. I'm messing with you, brother. I would never do that to you. But seriously, your story is your story. And I think that Jody is going to have his opinion, and he's going to have his beliefs, and you're going to have your opinions, your beliefs. But it don't mean that we can't break bread and talk about things like adults, and we did that today.
Sure.
And I know, Jody, you come in like a heat-sinking missile, and you're hot when you come in and you get going, and I had to try to, regulate y'all a little bit, and I wasn't trying to treat anybody, like kids or anything, but you guys get real fired up, and so I just wanted to make sure that everybody, just calmed it down, and we could talk about it. And we got 500 viewers just in the chat room, and, and no telling how many people are going to watch this. And so,
you did a great job. Great job, Josh. It was a fantastic show, and I really appreciate you letting me be a part of it. It was a pleasure and honor.
It was my
Roger,
pleasure.
Great talking to you, buddy. Maybe one day we'll meet. Maybe it's in the cards. I don't know, but it was a pleasure talking to you, and a pleasure talking to you too, Jody.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, always a pleasure, guys. And I'm gonna let y'all go and say goodnight to my listeners. Jody, thanks for coming on. You'll always be my friend. Barton, same for you. You guys have open invitation to come on anytime. If I'm hanging out doing the live stream, you want to come on and talk, just give me a ring or send me a text and say, hey, I can call you up or whatever. Roger, maybe we'll talk again, and I'm sure we'll talk again off air, but maybe we'll talk again on air. Who knows? It just depends on where life takes us. And may God look after you and your farm and your family.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So you all have a good night, gentlemen.
You too. God bless you guys.
God bless you. So, folks, that wraps up our talk. And if we missed anything, well, I'm sorry. It is what it is. Wanted to make sure that everybody got a fair shake and that everybody was heard. And somebody just said we were on. I don't know how long we've been going. We've been going since like 8 o'clock, so like 3.5 hours. But I just wanted everybody to take these darn things off. They're making my head hurt. But you can make your own conclusions, folks. You can take what Jody said and believe it and run with it, or you can take what Roger said and believe it and run with it, or you can just be undecided like I am. I'm going to take the high road here and say that I think they're both upstanding guys, and I believe that Roger believes what he's saying. That doesn't necessarily make the facts make the facts. It just means he believes what he's saying. Now, I've argued with my nephews at times where they believe what they're saying and they're full of crap. That happens like 99.9% of the time with them, though. That's just kidding. It's all the time. It's 100%. So, anyways, I hope that everybody enjoyed the show. Don't forget part 2 on Friday. One of my personal encounters with what Anthony has named the Haunted Tower. because it was a tower, a building that I had to work in. And those are my truths and what happened to me. And hopefully you guys will check that out and show us some love. Make sure that if you're listening to us on Spotify, that you download the episodes, because that helps us out. And if you're on here, please hit the like button and subscribe, or join our Patreon and help us be able to keep this show going. Because I was literally just talking to my wife and my nephews the other day about, I don't know what the future of PRT is going to be, because it does take a lot. My business is blowing up big time, like it's growing, and I don't know how much time I'm going to have to donate to or dedicate to this show. And so, I gotta try and balance it out, and so I may have to, slow it down in one way or another, and I don't want to make it PRT, that ends up getting the short end of the stick. But when it comes to my business and everything else, that's going to have to come first. And because PRT doesn't pay the bills, folks. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. And I'm trying to close and build and buy this piece of land, and so I can build out there, and eventually I can build a studio and have my office out there. And so I don't need to have to, I can build it out. I'm going to build it out there. So I won't need to be here, which is just another expense, to pay for a studio and everything else. So it is what it is. Also, at some point, I would like to get back on track with the Whisper to a Scream with Ryan Tremblay. And Ryan has been a good co-host, and he's been a heck of a researcher. Man, that kid researches like crazy, and he comes up with all kinds of good information. And so, I want to work more with him. And at some point, I would like for him to come out here, spend some time out here, and then think seriously about maybe relocating, and then we build something from that. But, that's in the future. And, once we have our studio and everything we need, it'll be so much easier. I won't have to commute up here to the studio. And I'll just have it at the house, and I can just walk from one room to the next and go record a show. That'd be so much easier. And we won't have to plan our days and our times around that. But we got to get this land, and we got to get it going. And like I said, this show isn't paying the bills. So everything in my life that I need revolves around me pretty much getting it from my company, my business, my bread and butter. And we're getting ready to possibly expand. And so with that, PRT may be put on the back burner, at least temporarily. And I hope that you guys, if that happens, that you'll be understanding in return whenever we're able to come back. But I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but that could, because it is what it is. We appreciate everybody who donates, whether it's through the super chat or through the Patreon, because that does help us, and it helps us to be able to keep doing this, and it makes it worth our while to be able to have to miss work and put all this time and effort into doing this. Because right now I just want the show to be able to pay for itself, and so that's pretty much it, and I enjoy it. I mean, this is a hobby, it's become a job hobby, is what my wife calls it, my jobby, because it's kind of become a second job, but we'll see what happens. And I hope that you guys continue to listen. We would like to grow a little faster than we are on YouTube. We're at 13,700 or something, and it seems like it should be a lot more, especially considering how many views we get. But it's kind of slowed down. Tell your family, your friends, your in-laws, especially if you don't like them, just tell them to listen to my show. I'm just kidding, folks. Tell anybody that you care about to check out our show, and that we do a pretty good job, and that we try to anyway, and we try to bring you a good product. And so they won't be disappointed, you come and listen to our program. And we appreciate your support. So that being said, let's try to keep the comments as clean as possible. If you guys have any questions for me, you want to ask anything of me, if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, well, you can always message me, and I'm pretty good about answering most questions I get asked. I try to. What I would ask is if, and I'm going to ask this again for the millionth time, is if you send me a friend request on Facebook, please point out that you're a listener of PRT, because if you're not, I'm not going to approve it. And I'm tired of having to ask people if you're a listener of PRT. If you listen to PRT, more than likely I'll approve you. Okay. It just, send me a friend request, and I know that you're a listener of the show, and it'll be a lot easier for us to communicate and whatever. And like I said, the email, you can send it to the email. If you don't go to Facebook, we do have Facebook groups: Paranormal Round Table, Paranormal Lounge, Paranormal Encounters, and a Whisper to a Scream podcast group. Those are our groups. Go to those groups and join. The bigger our groups are, the more we can reach people, and the bigger the show gets, the more we can do with it, the more episodes I can come up with, because I got a ton of information that I can put out there. I just got to be able to get the time to do the episodes and get them done. Yeah, and I can actually justify, taking time off to do, whatever. So anyway, that being said, I hope that everybody enjoyed the show. What else do we need to say? Like and subscribe, even if you listen to us on another platform. Come to YouTube, like and subscribe. That helps, and I appreciate another donation that's Bobby Hill. Thank you. Says, Josh, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love all my fans. This person says, I talk about true childhood trauma without freaking out. Well, a lot of people do. Everybody handles it differently. Not everybody tears up and starts crying or freaking out. I mean, Roger could just be a very calm guy. He could just be somebody who, doesn't get really overly emotional. I mean, it just depends. So you guys send me your what you think. You can go to the Paranormal Round Table group on Facebook and post what you think is going on. And don't forget about the Willie Williams Art Contest, Mothman. I've already gotten a lot of submissions, but never hurts to get some more. Remember, there's prize tiers that you can win. It's a promotional thing we do. And so everybody go and like and subscribe, like I said, and join our groups and keep up with all things PRT. And thank you for coming on, Roger. Wow. I hear gunfire outside. You hear that, Anthony? You're asleep. People are shooting outside. See, folks, this is why I need the studio in the house. I'm going to be here so scared to leave. Folks, that's a lie. I never get scared, ever. I'm just going to look at a few comments here and see what people are saying. Christian Arodano says, you are not by the border where I am, thank God. But it's getting bad up here in Austin, folks. A lot of crime. Who's this, Annie? You're making me hungry. I'm starving. I'm freaking starving right now. Let me tell you a funny story. We were at a bus station one time, or a train station. My brother was sitting across from this guy, and he was just staring at this guy and just eating a bag of chips, just eating the chips right out of the bag. And the guy was just staring at my brother like this angry face, this angry look on his face, like he wanted to beat my brother up. My brother's like, what? What's your problem? What? And so he just keeps eating his chips. Then he finishes the chips, and the guy just kept staring at him. And eventually the guy spoke. And he was like, I have no problem. I have no problem with you, sir. And just made like this weird face and got up shaking his head and just walking off. And we were all sitting there, and I'm not going to tell you what we were doing there. This was 20 years ago, and it was no telling what we were doing there. But anyway, this guy walks off, and he was some British guy. And my brother was like, I don't know what that guy's problem was. I was sitting there eating my chips. The guy kept staring at me like he wanted to fight. And I was getting mad. So that's why I asked him, what's your problem, So then we go to leave, and my brother sticks his hand in his jacket, and he pulls out a bag of chips and goes, oh, this must be where my chips were. Because he couldn't find them, and he saw the bag of chips right there on the table. So they were that guy's chips. So my brother sat down and literally ate this man's chips and stared at him and asked him what his problem was. And the guy was sitting there probably thinking, this dude looks like a lunatic. And anybody knows my brother, he's my older brother, but he does look like a lunatic. I mean, he's a big bald-headed crazy guy. Okay. So he's like looking at this dude. And I'm like, I kept telling him, I was like, you Dumbo, he probably, he scared the guy, He's like, well, he was eating my chips, and I took the bag and was like, what are you doing? He's like, I could have knocked him out. And I was thinking, man, it's a good thing you didn't, because you literally sat there and stared at that guy and ate his chips while the guy just sat there and dumbfounded, didn't know what to do. And so, yeah. Lesson, I guess, is that you never know. I get if there's a lesson to it. It's just a funny story, but I mean, you might be eating somebody else's food, and that's why they're looking at you crazy. Of course, my brother had two speeds, angry and angrier. That was it. I mean, it was so. Yeah, that was a funny story. I was talking to my buddy Squid earlier about he likes to get on and argue with people. He used to invite these Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormon people, bless their hearts. They try to come to your house and change your view of the world and proselytize. And he would invite them in, give them coffee and donuts and cake and just argue with them for hours. I mean, that's all. He just loved to do that. And we were talking about that yesterday, just laughing about it. I'm going to get Squid on the show one day, guys, and let him tell you some of the stories that went on in that house that we lived in. And talk about the reptilian dude, because he was there during that whole thing, And yeah, we got a million stories, man. We even, me and the guys from the old days, even kicked around an idea about opening up another channel and calling it Outlaw Talk, and see how long we got to stay on the air before they kicked us off. But we thought it might be too incriminating for some of the, so who knows, man. But anyway, that was my story. I told y'all a story, so I'm gonna run. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, the guy went back to England with that story about how rude Texans were, probably. I was eating my crisps, and this man sat down and began to eat my chips, my crisps. I got angry, and then he threatened physical violence, so I just sat there, and I was shaking my head like, wow, what a wanker, and then I got up and left. That's probably what happened. All right, guys, I'm going to end this. If you in a second, if you wanted to kill you, you better have 20/20 vision. Story time with Josh. All right, guys, I'll let you go.